Okay. All 7 channels are working. We'll get started in 30 seconds. With tonight's episode of 9dNation. 20 seconds from now.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Welcome to the 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. This is Season 2, Episode 49. What is Season 2? Bible reading followed by panel commentary that doesn't have to absolutely stay on topic. Often these days stays close to on topic for quite a little while. First, we do about a half hour, sometimes up to 40 minutes of some Black Yodas in the house. Panelist extraordinaire. So we have read, this is episode 49. We have read in the previous 48 weeks, maybe taking 1 or 2 weeks off, so about the last year, Genesis 1:1 through Genesis 27, and have carried forward our story so far. So from the perspective of some Yahoo who lives in North Texas, and it's the year 2023, just with whatever background and linguistic stylings I would have, here's what we've collected along so far. Are you ready? This is what the Bible has taught. I say us. It's really me, but the chat has informed some of the motion, I think, in here. No more water-based resets. That's the big flood. No demonic half-breeds. That's one of the reasons there was the flood. No murder. Before the flood, Yahweh or Ahia would handle everything case by case. But he was going to, step back in some fashion. And so he put this rule that said, no murder. Also, no blood drinking. He says that to Noah when they get off. He's like, yeah, you can eat the animals, but drain the blood. No more water-based resets, no demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among Japhethites and Hamites, the Shemites, Lot was saved from a fiery localized reset to sire the Moabites and Ammonites. Abraham moved to Gerar and worked the she's my sister scam with Sarah again, but Elohim warned Abimelech to not to, meaning to not marry her. All right, so tonight we're going to read chapter 20, verse 8 through 18. Rev says 5x5 over there on Twitch. Thank you for that, Rev. What just happened? There we go. All right. Lurkers pouring on in. I see you. Classical chick. Let's see, that's this one. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the original, the underscore, classical chick. In the house. There are now more than one underscore, but there's only one, the original underscore. Notice I changed the font color. That was on accident. I was trying to see if you could change the label in certain scenarios, but I ended up kind of mangling it. But I like the deep blue. Might stick with that. All right, so we're going to read Genesis 8. Oh, here, let me now switch to the... Oh, it switched. Genesis 20. Going to read 8 through... So Abimelech arose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their hearing. I'll remind you, that was the dream he had where Elohim was like, bro, you about to do a married woman. He's like, I didn't know. The men were greatly frightened. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, what have you done to us? How have I sinned against you that you've brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? And you've done to me things that ought not to be done. You shouldn't ought have done that. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what have you encountered that you have done this thing? He's like, why? Why, bro? Abraham said, well, because I thought, surely there's no fear of God in this place, and they'll kill me because of my wife. Besides, she actually is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife, and it came about when God caused me to wander from my father's house that I said to her, this is the kindness which you will show to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. Abimelech then took sheep and oxen and male and female servants and gave them to Abraham and restored his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, behold, my land is before you. Settle wherever you please. To Sarah he said, behold, I've given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, it is your vindication before all who are with you, and before all men you are cleared. Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maids, so they bore children. For the Lord had closed fast all the wombs of the household of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. What a strange story. Let's jump in. Oh, let me read it in. Let's see. We've got Sloan, Commander, in the house. He says red pill button push. Let me push that. We got 7 already. Oh, look at that. The Trump plane. All your stickers are moved. You know, I should add some more channel stickers. I've been thinking about that. I got a lot of favorites and uploads, and I haven't put them all in the channel. All right, I'm only doing 11 verses tonight. Like, compared to recently, that's going to seem like super simple. All right, Genesis 20. Let's put 20. Verse 8. Jing, jing, jing. All right, we'll do 8, 9, and 10, and then scroll down. Vayashkim Avimelech baboker vayikra lechal avada vedaber et kol hadevarim haele ba'ezenehem vayarahu ha'anashim meod. And I mispronounced Avimelech. You'll hear it in just a second. I'll do it better. Verse 9. Vayikra Avimelech le'avraham vayomer lo me asita lanu ume chatati lachki Heveta ale veal mamlachti chata'a gedola ma'asim asher lo yeasu asita imadi. Vayomer Avimelech el Avraham Ma ra'ita ki asita et hadavar haze. That's when he said, What'd you do to, what do we do to you? Let's read 11 through 15, and then I'll scroll down. Vayomer Avraham, ki amarti rak in yirat Elohim bamakon haze vaharaguni al devar ishti. Vegam amena achoti vat avihi ach lo vat imi vatihi li leisha. Vehi ka'asher hitu oti Elohim mibet avi va'omar laze chazdech asher ta'asi amadi elkal hamakom asher navo shama imri li achihu. Vayika Avimelech son uvakar ve'avedim ushefachot vayitin le'Avraham vayeshev lo et Sarah ishto. Vayomer Avimelech chine artzi lefanecha yatov be'enecha shev. Scroll down, 3 more verses. Ulesara amar hine natati elef kasef la leachich hine hu lach kesot inayim lechol asher itach ve'et kol venochachat. Vayit palel Avraham el ha-Elohim vayirpa Elohim et Avimelech ve'et ishto ve'amhota vayeledu. Ki atzor ahaya bead kal urechem level Avimelech el davar Sarah eshet Avraham. Okay, that's the same story in another language. Perhaps, I have no reason to doubt this, the original language that the story was written in. All right. Let me check the chat and we'll get into breaking this down. Yeah. Fiddling with the subscription tables is, I got a mental clarity flag. Or maybe that was for Classical Chick. Rev, are you throwing it? Hey, the Texan. Howdy, how's it going? All right. So, now that we've read the thing, let's look at the thing. So this first verse for tonight, 8. We're doing 11 verses tonight. Sorry, that's all I had time this week. Y'all are getting ahead of me. You know, it's cool. So there's one new word here. Let's see. When I say new word, I mean a word stem or a word root that we've not come across in the first 48 weeks of doing this. Ozen, that's an ear. There's 187 examples in the Old Testament. It almost always means ears. It sometimes means hearing, the things the ears do. So Abimelech got up early, called all of his servants, and told them it all, and they were askeert. So he alerted his peeps. Coming in from Sloan. Hey, Queen Peckerwood. It's good to see you. Oh, D Live with Brother Zoe. Hey, that's some good stuff over there, Miss 320. It is good to see you. It's Keeger time. So verse 9 has one new word, chata'a. This is sin, or can be used to represent the sin offering. There's 8 examples in the Old Testament. Usually it means sin. It comes from the word chata, which we did cover. Spent a lot of time on it. It's, remember, it's the little rope that you use to figure out how far away the arrow hit the target from the mark, from the bullseye. Abimelech called Abraham and was like, "What did you do and what did I do to you that you did what you shouldn't have did? And brought sin on my kingdom like you did." Yeah, Miss 321. Did you win again? Or are you talking about the win the other day? Do you win every day over there? Didn't you win like the other day also? Thanks for doing the Woodshed Chronicles Classical Chick. Those are awesome. I've not caught enough. I've caught some. So Abimelech alerts his peeps and questions Abraham. So let's go to the next verse. I'm so used to going fast now with these things. We're ahead of schedule for tonight. That's cool. We'll just start the panel early if we're ahead of schedule. There's one new word here. No new words here. In short, he's like, why, man? Why? He's like, what did you see? Like, what's your perspective? He's kind of checking his perspective. You know, like he's not asking, what's your thought pattern? He's asking your perspective. What's your view? Like, what's your angle on things that leads you to this? I like that because it's like, it's less motivational. It's more calling into question. Bro, you see things weird. Why would you come in here and doing that? What we ever did to you. Did you catch that? It's kind of cool. Kind of cool perspective. Verse 11 has one word, yirah. That's a fear. There's 41 examples of this word being conjugated in the Old Testament or the law and prophets. It usually means fear. It comes from yareh, which is also fear, and we covered that in chapter 3, so I was pretty comfortable with that. Abraham said, because I figured y'all didn't respect Elohim here, so you'd kill me because of the hottie over here that I hang with. That's a pretty low opinion of, the crew. Abraham said, I assumed you were godless, and you see how hot my wife is. Like his thought, it's very foreign, I think. You can kind of put it together if you stop and think about it. You're like, it's kind of barbaric. Times maybe that he lives in, and people will just, like we're getting into nowadays, you go out in public, you got to be strapping, like, because they're going to come at your wife. So you got to have a couple of 6 guns, one on each hip, visible. So yeah, Warlord Abraham, he's like, I don't know, I told her to say she was my sister. Oh, cool. Miss 320, you keep winning. That's awesome. All right, let's crank out another verse. I think we're going up to 20? No, 18. I think 18. That takes us to the end of the chapter, basically. We need to look at the word, I guess there's one new word here, omna. It means verily or truly or indeed. And there's 2 examples only, but it comes from aman, which we've seen before. So omna comes from aman. That one means like to confirm or to support or to faithfully believe. So he's like, no, really, she is my sister. By our father, not mother. Like, in other words, we have the same father, we don't have the same mother. That seems important here. And she became my wife. It just kind of worked out, She really is my sister by the same father, and she ended up being my wife. So let me summarize our story so far, and then we'll comment on this little addendum here at the end. No more water-based resets, no demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and Hamites, Shemite Abraham moved to Gerar and wouldn't admit he's married to Sarah again, like he did in Egypt. But Elohim warned Abimelech, who alerted his peeps and questioned Abraham, and said, I assumed you were godless, and you see how hot my wife is, and we do have the same dad. My comment on this is, what? I just don't get it. I think that was the only new word there. My notes are a little messed up here, so hopefully I haven't messed up. They look pretty common. All right, verse 13. One new word here, ta'ah. That means to err or stray. There's 50 examples in the Old Testament, and I looked at a lot of them, and it seems like it usually means to stray, which, you shouldn't stray, right? That leads to error, but it really means to stray, so it's used here in God causing him to wander from his father's house, which was up in Haran. So this verse is saying, it ended up that when Elohim made me wander around from Haran, I told her to be nice to me and say I'm her brother wherever we go. So he's saying God made him move houses, and he forgot to untell her after Egypt, don't do this anymore. Do you think he forgot, or were they like, cha-ching, it worked out so well back then? Yeah, I won't change that plan. He's making it sound like, wow, this is kind of was our thing, and just kind of stuck around. Greg and Marcia Brady getting married. Exactly. Wait, do they have the same father? Kind of not, because he's a stepfather. But yeah, it is close to that. Ew, lots of sexploits behind the scenes on Brady Bunch. Yeah. You kind of figure, right? Ew, it was the 70s, wasn't it? Or the 60s. I can't remember. Verse 14, pretty straightforward. There's no new words that we haven't seen before, and it's basically cha-ching, the payoff. Here comes the money. Just like in Egypt. So, no more water-based resets, no demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Those are the rules. Among Japhethites and Hamites, Shemite Abraham twice moved around, not admitting he was married to Sarah. Then when God harries the local kings wanting to marry Sarah, they pay Abraham off. That's my new summary. That's the facts. That's what we see in the book. No new words here that we haven't seen before. Abimelech told Abraham, you can live anywhere in my country you want to. It's part of the payoff the payola. Duppy points out, yeah, it's Hollywood. It's what they do. Yeah, this is more Deliverance-y. Today's story. They were half siblings. Verse 16. Two new words here to look at. Kesuth, that's a covering. There's 8 examples of that in the Old Testament, but it comes from kasa, which is to cover also. Yakach, that's to decide, to adjudge, or to prove. There's 59 examples in the Old Testament. It often is a rebuke. So Abimelech says to Sarah, I gave Abraham 1,000 pieces of silver. It's like a look the other way to your posse so they'll see you as clean. Like, if the king is going to pay, then clearly Sarah did nothing wrong. He's paying a recompense, right? So she can't complain later that he didn't make things right? He's also asking for like an NDA here. So he's paying a ton to not think about it. He was going to have the hottie in his harem, and he's paying a lot to not have her in his harem. Sit in this chair, dog. This one right here. Doesn't really change our story so far. We've captured that. Let's go to 2 more verses. Rapha, that's a new word. To heal. There's 67 examples in the Old Testament. It can mean a healer or the act of healing. Amah, that's a maid or a handmaid. 56 examples in the Old Testament. It can mean lady, but often means a servant lady. So like maybe a high-level servant. So Abraham prayed, and God healed Abimelech. Not just Abimelech himself, but the household. Now all the ladies, including the queen, I guess it doesn't say that, but he must have had some other queen, could have kids. Now this just comes out of the blue. So all of a sudden in the story at the very tail end, they're like, oh, by the way, turns out this prayer from Abraham solved the fact that these people suddenly couldn't have kids. So how long did it take for them to figure that out? Like months of the king of Gerar being engaged to Sarah? Because like at first, it's going to be a month before anybody notices, man, I'm not getting pregnant. They're going to whisper and tell each other in the kitchen like, I'm not getting pregnant out in the field hands. They're like, hey, my wife's not getting, like, who's going to talk about that? It's going to be, I'm thinking 3 months before, at the minimum, before anybody really notices. So this is one of those long engagements. You see it like Esther. She was engaged for a year in the harem before she got her night with the king. I'm pretty sure if I remember that right. And you get the impression in Egypt, they were plagued for months, until Sarah finally admitted she was married to Abraham. So, like, to actually catch this, like, this was going on for a while. So our story so far includes that Abraham twice moved around, not admitting he was married to Sarah, and then when God harries the local kings, including with castle barrenness, because all of them couldn't have. And it's like, when did that happen? All right, one more verse. The last one of the night, because that's the last one I have prepared. Well, I have 2 more verses prepared, but it's chapter 21. Might as well stop here. We need to look at the word rechem. It's the first time we've seen it. It's womb. There's 26 examples of this word stem being conjugated in the Old Testament, or the Law and Prophets. It's your inner guts and where your biggest feelings come from. That's what studylight.org says. And if you look at how it's used, rechem, it really means the baby growing area. But the word comes from the idea of like, deep inside. So in this verse, Ahiah had made it so no one could get pregnant because of Sarah. So she goes to, they do their scam. Barrenness comes down on the people. And then it gets lifted. And you'll see in the next chapter, it gets really weird because that actually ends up solving Sarah's infertility. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. I did not go, well, we could cover that if we want. But it's 11:26, and I say we bring in the panel. So let me summarily kill the music. Let me summarily sending it to the room, Rev says. All right, so let me summarily kill the video. Kill the video. It's dead. It's dead to me. Jitsi. Let's start up the meeting. Appealing embarrassments. Argue anyway is the link. Sort of kind of weird. All right. I'm putting this out there. For Black Yoda. It's really for anyone. There's a traditional panel that tends to show up. I see some of the traditional panel out there. Black Yoda, welcome. Thanks for joining in.
What's up? I was doing the speaker setting.
Sounds pretty good. At least this side.
How was your week?
Pretty good. I'm extremely low on alcohol this week because this is every 6 months. Angular and I do the big training. And so I kind of got to skip alcohol for like a week or 2. So I'm in the middle of that. So I'm feeling super energetic. That way you get. I can't wait to have a first drink on Sunday, but anyway.
For me, like, I do enjoy my beer, people. Don't get me wrong. But I also enjoy being sober.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, so like, say, like after the show, I'm going to have some beers and I'll probably have some tomorrow. But if I have too many like back-to-back days of beers, I get to a point where it's like, where's the fruit? Give me some fruit. You know what I mean? Like, and then I just binge out on fruit for the next couple of days. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, my mechanic friend has an orange tree and invited me over, and dude, I must have had like 50 oranges in this box, and they're really good. You're not gonna get oranges like this from the grocery store, you know,
Ooh, nice.
because nutritionally he takes care of that orange tree.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's where the difference comes into play, people. Oh my God, these oranges, G Ross, these little juicy, rich in color on the inside. I don't know about you guys, but like as soon as I eat fruit, it's almost instant that it just you could just feel it in you. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Or maybe
Agreed.
it's just my perception on how I look at it, because I've always looked at it like God's way of turning light into matter.
Agreed.
Does that make sense?
It does. They even teach that in school. They
What's
don't
cool?
hide that one.
Are you talking about photosynthesis and whatnot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's not quite how I mean. Well, that's exactly how I mean it, but more to it than that. You know what I
Agreed.
mean?
Yeah. Rev says
Now,
hi Yoda, by the way.
who?
Revenge Odi Deutsche.
Oh, what's up, bro? So we got a short topic this week.
Yeah, I cut it off at the end of 20. I realize actually the next couple verses, which I have notes for,
It's
does
kind of.
add.
I was gonna say it's kind of a story change.
It is a story change, but it adds something that we could talk about tonight, which is when the infertility curse gets lifted.
Yeah.
Sarah gets swept up in that. That's how she has Isaac. So we could talk
Right.
about
Right.
that both tonight and a little bit next week.
What I never realized was other people other than Sarah was blessed with being able to have kids and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever knew that. Because like generally church talks about Abraham and Sarah specifically. They don't even talk about this part.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, because they're acting weird. Like why are they okay with her getting married to Abraham and all these foreign kings?
I promise you they didn't teach that to me when I was, you know, going to church as a kid. You know what I mean?
No.
They don't, they're very selective on what they do and don't talk about.
Agreed.
I've never quite understood that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to a degree I understand it. But just be honest.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, if we're teaching the Bible and we leave parts of it out, then we're not teaching the whole Bible.
No, you're being selective.
Yeah.
I mean, like when my son was a kid, I would discipline him and whatnot if he did something stupid. But I didn't, I can't say I didn't. I treated him, as a child when he was one. But at the same time, I treated him like a little man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was always blunt and honest about whatever was taking place. You know what I mean? I'd explain shit to him. I remember one time the AC in my Blazer went out, and I was about to drop him off at a friend's. His wife would watch him while I was at work. I was doing second shift at the time, and I stopped at a Circle K. That's a convenience store out here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna get myself some water, and I asked him, I was like, "Do you want a water or a juice?" And he was like, "Juice." Now, Circle K isn't the best store to stop at,
Right.
for juice, right?
Yeah.
Now, at this point, he was 6, and he knew his numbers really good, and I would always explain to him like, look at the back of the bottle, look for the 100% versus some other stuff, right? And so I'm in line, he comes back with this bottle, and the top of it is shaped like Superman, right? And I was like, Julian, I already know just by looking at the bottle, you know. And I was like, Julian, did you look at the back of that for the number? And he's just looking at me like I know he looked at it.
Right.
Like I know he looked at it. And I was like, turn it over. Let me see what it says. And it says something like 10% juice. And I doubt it even had that much. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
And so I get out of line and we go back to the juice section. And I grab one, show it to him. I think it was like an orange juice or something. Orange or apple, one of the two. And I was like, you see how this one says 100? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so tell me, is Superman really that super? And the hurt in his eyes, bro, like he just wanted the Superman bottle for the materialistic part. I mean, he's 6. Come on now. You know what I mean? I get it. But no, I wasn't having it. Like,
Too much sugar water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Boneless chicken's in the house, by the way.
All right. That's what's up. I forgot why I even brought that up. What were we talking about? Treating kids?
Like treating people like treating kids like growing little people instead of like hiding everything
church.
from them.
Yeah, the church lying or not lying, but just leaving
stuff out. Yeah.
No, I don't agree with that. Tell people how it is. Like, I know. Let me think. Almost a year ago on a freaking Friday night show, I had Craig play a video of this deaf transgender mute trying to sing Whitney Houston. Somehow it popped up again on Brandon Tatum's channel on my side though, you know. And so I shared it again, and I was just basically like, when are we gonna stop entertaining these people's derangement and just tell it how it is? She's mute, which means she can't fucking speak properly. She can't hear. Did you ever see this video of this lady?
I'll go find it.
Maybe at the end of the show when it's like sideways, because this is a short topic.
Yep.
But dude, oh my God. And they want to pretend like what she did was, oh, that was incredible.
Brave. So brave.
She sounded like a wolf howling in the midnight. You know? Right. You could even hear the audience giggling, but she couldn't.
Right.
Like, I get so tired of the lies, bro. Oh my God.
Well, that one feels like a test. Like, it's the old emperor's clothes, right? Yeah. Who's going to stand up and say, this is dumb? I don't want to be that guy. I'll be told I'm making fun of a deaf lady.
Wasn't it a little kid that pointed it out? He's naked.
Right. Yep.
God. I don't get it, man. Like, I know there's still a lot of sane people out here in the world that just don't want to participate with this nonsense.
Right. Well, you got to figure, you know, a friend of mine sometimes calls up and he talks about the train conductor. You know, just because there's prisoners in or not, you know, not prisoners, but like people getting hauled off to concentration camps. Let's say, you know, I know those can be controversial stories too, but the train conductor's like, I don't care what they put in the train. I'm just driving it. I'm just piloting it from A to B. You know, I'm not but everyone's contributing if nobody says anything is, I guess my point.
You know, I had it's probably in my phone somewhere. I had a really good meme of, it showed a picture of Jesus. And I can't remember if he was still carrying the cross, but it had a bunch of Roman soldiers around him, right?
Yeah.
And this was like a drawing, right? Not like a cartoon drawing or anything, but somebody had put like titles over all the Roman characters oh, I'm just, following orders, or I'm just
Right.
doing my job, or just blah, blah, blah. It don't change the fact that what you're doing is wrong.
Right. Exactly. That's a real good point.
Yeah. I mean, you see these officers like, you see the protests taking place over in the Netherlands, the other ones taking place in France.
Right.
And it's like these officers know why these people are out here.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people in like Brazil, when the what's his name, Bolsonaro or something like that.
Yeah. Bolsonaro.
Yeah, like the cops know why the people are in the streets,
Yeah.
but oh, for the sake of my paycheck, they're following orders. Like, how do you sleep at night knowing that you're on the wrong side of of the issue?
Got a can from Sloan TV. Texan says society is riding that same train to the gas chamber.
I wouldn't say society as a whole. You know what I
No.
mean?
Right. But a lot of people out there still kind of dull.
You know, I have to agree. I thought it would take a long time to dumb down everybody, especially from like our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Generation X was like, we were built in brick and mortar and just, you know what I'm saying? We're
Yes.
a different kind, right?
Yep.
I thought it would take a long time to make people, and then look at what people did with like COVID and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, I might have brought this up before. My neighbor across the drive right here,
Mm-hmm.
she works at a school. Older, retired, but she still works at that school, right?
Yep.
She come home one day, and she'll always come to the front gate and give my two dogs treats. And she was like, yeah, they tested me. And this is only like, what, 2, 3 weeks ago? Oh, yeah, they tested me for COVID, and I turned out positive. I couldn't even contain it no more, dude. I cussed her out. I couldn't do it.
They
You've
stabbed
had
her
two,
brain when they shoved the Q-tip in there.
right? I'm like, you've had two vaxes and a booster, and you're still not asking questions? Shouldn't, from your point of view, shouldn't you at least be like, why am I sick? And I'm telling her, I'm like, do you feel sick? Because you don't look
Right.
sick to me. I'm like, you're not sick. Knock it off. You know what I mean? And these people, don't even get me started about the families that take their kids to these drag queen story hour,
Oh,
like
good
it's
point.
normal and shit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Yeah.
I know what NPC is,
Mm-hmm.
but wow, like, even right now, me and my father, we don't get along for shit when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
I asked him, this was a couple of months ago. I asked him, how do you like these gas prices? He went to cussing me out because he knew where I was going with it.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I ain't the one that voted for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, that was all you. That was all you. That was you and your people.
Here I
Damn it,
have.
Steve, I don't want to talk to you about this shit. And I'm like, hey, I tried to tell you. You know what I mean? Like,
I have the COVID Q-tip right here. Commander Sloan's talking about it in the chat. Just put it right in there. Just get it in there for boink.
get it in there. Get it in there deep. I forget what part of the brain that is that barrier that they try to puncture through.
Yeah, did I show you? I ride the rides at Disney World way too much. There's this really old one where they got some Egyptian hieroglyphs and stuff, and I swear they added like the thing with the pointer going into the nose.
No. That's not well, it could
I
be for
didn't. I don't
Disney.
think it was there. It looks a little dark, like they added it in to the
But
same
no, you
old
can
picture.
find illustrations of that.
Oh, I know, but I think they
And
added it to the ride. I don't think it used to be there. I
I
never
can't say
noticed it.
I can't say anything about Disney,
Yeah.
But I've seen depictions of
Mm-hmm.
Egyptian, hieroglyphics is
Mm-hmm.
the letters, but
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like what do you call that shit? Where it shows the people and it's like step scene images, like a comic almost,
Yeah.
but
Aren't-
Egyptian form. I've seen. I don't know what it is, but it's the similar thing because there's something that happens when you puncture that part of the barrier.
I
It's
think
something
that's
about making people docile
yeah.
or
It gets
something.
infected and stuff.
Yeah.
So
So I don't know
permit
what's
me.
worse.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know what's worse, that long ass Q-tip to the brain or the fluoride in the water. You know?
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, yeah. So let me ask. We were talking kind of about how the church might sometimes skip over the uncomfortable topics. Let me ask
Right.
just a few questions before we get too deep into the time, just because I have them ready, if that's all right. So,
Yeah.
did it strike you? Like, I commented on this. I was like, is it okay that Abraham was like, y'all have to be godless? Like, he clearly was. I don't know. What do you think about that part?
I'm not
Like,
sure what your question is.
he goes, so Abimelech is like, why'd you do this to us? And his first answer is, I figured you were godless and you were going to kill me to get to Sarah. Is that reasonable? He's kind of,
If you ask it that way,
yeah,
I could kind of understand his point of view because he was assuming a thing about the guy.
right.
So in a sense, that's Abraham's fault.
Yeah, I think the text is trying to say that, well, Abraham was wrong, right?
Yeah.
He ends
I
up
mean,
being
as far as
wrong.
assuming a thing, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And because God knew the truth, God is the one that spared him. You know what I'm saying?
right. Exactly.
Imagine Abraham's surprise when dude was like, "Bro, I had a dream, and what the fuck?"
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, you know Abraham's eyes were like saucers, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, what
Yeah.
do you mean?
Right.
Duh. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one that talked to God. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
That's a
funny.
really, actually, what you just said is a really good point. He's like, oh, man, he's talking to you too. He's not as special now.
Right?
That's awesome. That's a really good point. I had not considered that. Um,
That's what I tell people, man. If you want to be thoroughly entertained, at least read the Bible. I
Yeah.
mean, you can find all kind of little nuggets in there.
well, straight up, they come out, and this is in the text. I think this is where we finally find out. The first time in Egypt, it didn't really spell it out. But here, he straight up says, she really is my sister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So we've talked
they
about
they
it.
didn't elaborate it. They didn't go into detail like that in the earlier chapters
Right.
because they were in Egypt for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how long they were in this scenario for.
I'm thinking a few months for that reason I said earlier. Like, how long does it take to realize your whole castle is not having kids? Probably a couple, 3 months, right?
I would think it'd take longer than that.
It could, yeah. I actually feel like it would take longer, minimum of 3 months.
I mean, because 3 months isn't. Plus, you got to think. You know, what time of the year is it?
Right.
Because that is a thing, people. Even to this day, I mean, people are more prone to have kids at certain times of the year versus others, you know? And depending on, you know, the temperature of where you live, if the sun goes down and it's still 120 outside with no AC, I'm not going to be in the mood for sex. It's too damn hot.
Now, hold on a second. I got a quote from the book of Do the Right Thing. If you remember the movie, he
You
says,
talking about-
ain't never too hot or too cold. And I can't say the rest because I'll be the guy that's quoting the F-bomb.
Right.
But which I don't necessarily say has to be a rule. But anyway, you remember that scene? He's like, man, you out your mind. Ain't never
Dude,
too hot or too cold.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a teenager.
Oh, the earth
That's
is
cool.
hollow, Belushi says.
Hey, Belushi's in the house. What's up, bro?
Yep. Yeah, Do the Right Thing, I found to be a pretty fun movie, very quotable. So we watched it over and over and over again because so many one-liners.
Yeah, that's going way back. Where's
And
Duppy and P Taggy?
I saw Duppy out there in a bit. I'm hoping that the discussion of Half Sister will draw him in. I know we've talked about it several times, but this is when it hit in the text. So let me ask you my next question.
What's that?
He goes almost like oh, but don't worry. It's not as creepy as you think. We have the
But then
same dad, not the same mom. And I think that might actually matter.
I still don't understand that.
I think
Like,
it may be more dangerous to have the same mom as far as like chromosomal abnormalities. I don't have any proof of that. I'm not a scientist about this stuff, but I wonder about that.
I know mitochondria DNA is what you get from your mother,
Okay.
and something about it is more important than a lot of other things.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about chromosomes. You get an equal amount from your parents, but mitochondria is what they follow for like lineage, for a lot of things that they do with DNA. It's the mitochondria. So you could be right. I honestly don't know. I don't have a sibling that I'm having sex with. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Exactly.
I don't. That came out so bad. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
all I know is like a lot of the I don't want to say stereotypes. I mean, we're all raised to believe that if you have sex with like a sibling or like a cousin, it's going to come out with two heads and a third foot. You know what I mean? Like,
I think straight sibling sex is a high risk,
I,
right?
I, I, I've heard that it is, but
I've
I've
been
seen
told
some
that. Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
There was a what was that couple? Where was that couple from? It was a white couple. They were both adopted. Wait, or I might be mixing that up with two other stories. Either way it goes, it was brother and sister, and they had a little girl, and she was normal.
Oh, okay.
I remember she had like long curly hair, and she was part of the interview. She couldn't have been more than 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a long time ago, and I'm trying to remember the circumstances. I'm gonna have to look that one up later.
Belushi's figured it out. We're talking about Star Wars. Yep.
That's funny. Luke and Laura.
Yeah. Um. Actually, Luke and Laura, wasn't that Falcon Crest? No, wait,
Nah,
what was that?
that was General Hospital
Right.
from back in the day.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
The reason why I know that is because that particular channel, all the soap operas that showed up on that channel are the ones that my grandmother watched.
Okay.
So yeah,
We were kind of a Days of Our Lives, whatever that channel was. Not
she
quite
was
like, yeah,
she was All My Children.
yeah.
God, I can't remember the name of the one that came on after that
One
one.
Life to Live, was that in there?
Yes, thank you. And then General Hospital.
Yeah.
Yep, that was her channel. Keep in mind, people, this was for the youngsters that might be out there. This was when you had to get up and turn the TV station, and there was
Oh,
only like 4 channels.
it was
You had
terrible.
NBC, ABC, CBS, and PBS.
Yep.
That was it.
And then like 1980 came around and we finally got MTV
Yeah.
or HBO, I guess was one of the early ones.
Well, back in Michigan, I lived in the country, so they didn't have cable lines. They were just doing cable lines in the city, you know?
Right.
And because the country part wasn't populated enough, it wasn't worth the investment to them to
Mm-hmm.
put the lines out there. So we had one of those big ass satellites.
Yeah.
Looked like a space saucer sideways, right? With the
Yeah.
big radar thing in the middle. Yeah, we had one of those.
There's a
Dude.
scene in what's that guy that works with Will Ferrell? He's in Talladega Nights. I forget his name.
He's got like curly hair.
Yeah. He's in a scene in another movie where they got a satellite dish they're trying to install on the roof, and I can't remember the movie, but it's hilarious. Anyway.
See, now you're starting to sound like Bernie. That's the way she'll tell a story.
Right. Thanks.
Dude. Oh,
it's age. Yeah.
After 10, wait, how long? We've been roommates at least 10 years. And she was telling me something yesterday or the day before. And because of the way she said it, we were talking about that COVID stimulus relief.
Yeah.
And I asked her, and we were talking about taxes. And she was like, I think I got the money in 2021. And I was like, why do you say that? Because she was recently going over her tax stuff. And the way she described it to me, I'm thinking she got a check from the IRS or whatever, right? And then 20 minutes later, I find out, no, when she did her taxes, the tax lady subtracted that amount from what she owed, right? And I'm like, why didn't you just say that?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
Dude, it makes, after 10 years of that, dude, I'm surprised I don't have an aneurysm.
John C. Riley, the Texan, came in with the name of the guy. Thank you, J.C. Riley.
So what was the movie?
I can't remember. Let me look it up. It'll drive me crazy. John C. Riley. It's not Step Brothers. It's like, is it like 4 Weddings or something?
I don't know. I've only seen a couple of movies with him in it. I really don't watch movies, people.
Where is I probably should have just done IMDb.
The more I started learning about Hollywood and
it's horrible.
And the other stuff, I was already not much of a TV movie person, but that completely just shut me down. Like, I see some of these people now, and it's like, I know what I heard about you, like, and I just, like, I just can't. I don't even give it my energy. I can't.
Agreed.
And I don't think it's just me, because I see a lot of articles on how Hollywood just ain't making the money that they used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the excitement is reduced. I think I'm not even sure he's in the movie I'm talking about. It's horrible. I should never take a midday nap. Let me ask you this. Did you, there was the scene, the part of the scene where he's busy explaining why he did what he did to Abimelech.
Uh-huh.
And then he gets to the part where he's like, when God made me wander around. And I was kind of getting a vibe from the text that it was, let me read exactly. Let me read how the King James says it. 1020 KJV. So he goes, it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house. Am I making too big of a deal out of it, or is he kind of blaming God that he's on foot doing these things?
What part are you reading?
Yeah.
No, what part are you reading?
Verse 13. He goes, she really is my half sister. And he goes, also, when God caused me to wander around from my father's house, that's when I hatched this plan, basically. So it caught my ear as a little bit of God made me do it, or I'm on a mission from God. Like he's almost like excusing it with that, or I might be reaching.
Again, like I said last week, I mean, this is really a part of the Bible that has always had me kind of stumped. Between Lot's daughters and finding out that Abraham's sister is his wife is his sister, like that always sat weird with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like last week, you know, when I was saying, you know, God just smited Sodom and Gomorrah, but this is all good.
Right. Well, it ends up bad because he has the Moabites and the Ammonites, and they amount to just being buttheads.
Oh, there was something I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
When you first started the show tonight, you made the comment, drain the blood, don't eat the blood, blah, 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 right?
Right.
And for some weird reason, it popped in my head that over in England, Ireland, and Scotland, they have like a blood pudding thing that they make sausage out of. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, I've always avoided that food because I'm like, I don't want to eat blood. It kind of grosses me out.
I
I'm
mean,
sure
you
it's
know, me,
tasty.
I'm vegetarian. You know, I'll eat the blood over fruit.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I was thinking about that earlier today. You know, I'm such a big fan of eating slaughtered mammals, but I do question that every now and then. I know I'm going to freak out some of the chat. They're going to be like, no, just eat them. I do. I eat them all the time. I love them. They're so tasty. But
You know,
it seems a little weird.
I, I've been a vegetarian for a very long time, people. I don't have any health problems as far as like malnutrition or vitamin deficiency or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, I do miss salmon croquettes. My grandmother used to make those all the time when I was younger.
That's
Uh,
fish. Salmon's a pretty good food.
yeah, I miss uh making like macaroni and cheese with like tuna in it with peas. You know, stuff like that. You know, and I debate it sometimes, but if I throw in a towel and eat fish, what's to stop me from eating hot wings? You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The slippery slope of meat eating.
Yeah.
First, you eat chondrichthyes, or osteichthyes, I should say. That's bony fish, right? Next thing you know, you're cannibalizing your neighbor.
Yeah. I've always had a feeling that somehow we didn't used to eat meat, started to eat meat, and slowly, and you look at I forget the name of the company, but they were using celebrity DNA to grow lab meat, which is basically human meat.
Oh, I know. Angular went to a friend's house and they made him order the Impossible Burger. And he was like, he didn't even take a bite of it. He's like, I ain't eating this.
The Impossible one is made out of soy. I'd stay
Oh,
away
okay.
from that one. The
That's better
Beyond,
than heme, though.
yeah, Beyond is made out of pea protein.
So neither one of them have heme in it.
Have what?
Heme, Heem.
What is it?
Let me read you from the Wiktionary what heme is. Let's see. Let's see here. Places, other. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. Artificial meat. I thought it was
Well, what are you?
HEEM.
What
Oh,
are you thinking that it is?
HEME. So
No, I
here.
mean the definition. What do you think the definition is?
Well, I think HEME is possibly, it's like almost blood. It says a precursor to hemoglobin. It binds oxygen to the bloodstream, and apparently it's used in some of these artificial meats. Let me check it out. Let me see if
As
that's
far
right.
as I know, they use beet juice to get that blood-like coloring and whatnot.
Uh, I think the impossible. No, not the impossible. Heme.
As far as I know, there's no animal product in either one of them.
There's HEME. I'm not saying it's an animal product. I'm saying it's a mysterious goopy thing.
I will tell you something funny though.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know how widespread this company is across America or whatnot, but we have a place out here called Total Wine.
Yep. We got that here.
Okay. Um. So not long after we moved into the place that we're in now, and this is well, years ago, people. I wanted to get a wine bottle that kind of matched the decor of because I had a couple of wine stands and I had a little mini bar and all kinds of shit, right? And so I'm in the wine section and I'm just looking at all the different bottles and styles and the labels and just different colors and on one of the bottles I see that it says vegetarian. And I'm thinking to myself, why would a wine need to
Right.
say vegetarian is grapes?
Yeah.
Like and so I'm just standing there, right? And I'm looking at this bottle. I must have been staring at it for like 5 minutes, easy. And one of the Total Wine people comes up to me, and it turns out that he's gone to school for wine. I
Yeah.
forget what they call it, right? And to the point where he was telling me that he could taste the wine and tell you what country it came from, what specific region in that country. He could tell you the soil type.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One of those guys, right? And so when he first comes up, he's like, "Can I help you with something?" And I was like, I was just looking at that bottle and I was trying to figure out why does it say vegetarian on it? And he just looks at me and he smiles and he was like, "You know what? That's a really good question. A lot of people don't realize to ask that." And he said basically what it boils down to is they use I think he said, oh shit, what kind of I want to say he said some kind of fish byproduct, but it was some kind of animal byproduct that they use to filter the wine.
Got it.
And I was like, what? And it's something about this byproduct. It just works as a really good filter, but
Mm-hmm.
they claim that the byproduct itself isn't in the wine. And he was like, but he says himself, he was like, but I don't agree with that because it touched the byproduct. And I was like, you know what? That's exactly how I feel. You know what I mean? I didn't even know that was a thing. And so he was basically telling me that if you generally buy wines coming out of Italy, they tend to be more vegetarian because a lot of Italians are vegetarian, you know?
Right.
But I had no idea that was even a thing, you know?
Let me catch up with the chat. Way back, Sloan TV said, "Are dreams a possible looking glass?" Asking for, for Stella. That's the kitty cat.
Let me ponder that while I go get some more coffee.
Right on.
I like that question.
And here I am left to vamp without the co-host. I had nothing prepared. Let me compliment Belushi on, what was it? Monday. The Monday Funk Show. So good. So good. You're always in for a treat with a Belushi DJ experience. Dead air. Rev Odoichi says, duck blood soup. Have you ever had it, Rev? And talking about prions, was that something that the blood can give you, or you were talking about, like, I guess you couldn't even cook the prions out. That has kind of gone away as a news story, hasn't it? Oh, you know what? I'm going to play, while Yoda's getting that, I'm going to play the thing. Here, let me share my screen. I did have something prepared. I just didn't think about it. Here we go. Cover your ears.
And deaf mute trans woman sings Whitney Houston. I will always love you.
It's a little tough to watch. I don't know. I can't look away.
Doing the face palm.
I can't stop watching this. Rev. It's all Rev's fault.
Why are they clapping?
Because they survived.
Look at him. Look at him.
That's just messed up.
Oh, man.
I blame you, Yoda.
Dude, you should. Oh, my God. You didn't play the one that I was talking about that had like the coyote overlay with them howling. And there was a scene in Finding Nemo where the fish was trying to do whale calls or whatever.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was so funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
It made it funny.
Oh, no, Belushi, I'm sorry we woke up your son. Oh, I should have done an alert. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I should have pre-screened that. I had no idea what was.
I don't know if he elaborated on this, but earlier in the show, we were talking about how people aren't honest with the Bible. Some churches leave certain parts of certain stories out.
Right.
And I was talking about, I'm getting tired of people not being real with people. That's how this particular
That's why we brought
came
this
up
up.
in conversation earlier. So for those of y'all that missed out, while I was getting my coffee, I guess he decided to play it.
Yeah, I was sitting here going, dead air. And then I realized I had something prepped. And by the way, Rev Odoichi pointed out I should have also been spending that time plugging the Sunday night show on Sloan TV and G-Ross, which we had episode 1 last Sunday. It's called Armor Up, and it's the Rev Odoichi executive produced joint, and episode 1 was really fun.
Oh, what time is this?
It's at 10 Eastern. I have no idea what that is in your part of the world.
I think that'd be like 8 o'clock my time.
Probably. It'd be like 9 where I am, so that sounds right.
You said Sunday night?
Yeah, Sunday nights, and we did the first episode with 1 day's notice last week, and we got the next one coming up this Sunday. It's basically spiritual war type discussion.
Okay.
And I believe, I got to check with the team, we might do calls as early as the second episode. I know we got some people lined up. I just don't know whether it'll be this Sunday or not. Probably. We just haven't talked.
Okay. Well, if anything, I can keep the chat interesting.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember. I wrote it down just now.
Sweet. Thank you.
But as far as I think you said Sloan was asking a question about Blue Beam.
Oh yeah, Looking Glass.
Looking Glass. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Until recently, I didn't know that some people only dream in black and white. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I've heard that, but I don't. Is that really true?
I guess. I mean, my dreams have always been in color.
Yeah, same here. I think.
I remember reading something a long time ago that you're not able to read in your dream, but I've read stuff in my dream.
Yeah, I've made an exception to that a couple times for sure. I do tend to start to wake up when I get that deep into a dream and I'm focusing that
Yes,
much.
that happens to me too.
But
Right?
I definitely can read a little bit. Rev says it's 7 o'clock in Arizona, and he would know.
No, it's not. It's 10. It's
No,
10:13.
the show. Sorry.
Oh,
In other words, the 10 Eastern will be
right,
7 for you on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he's
Yeah,
saying.
they are 3 hours ahead now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Remember we had that issue a month
Yeah.
ago.
All right, let me correct that. 7 o'clock. So ask Sloan. Ask him this question: Are
Yep.
you look? Are you? I know you can look forward with Looking Glass, but can you look backwards too?
Ooh. I
Because
like
I've had
that.
dreams. I've had past life memories.
Right.
I've not necessarily had dreams where something came true, but I've had um well, what's the word for that?
Premonition.
Uh kind of. Oh, why can't I think of the word? I got voodoo stuck in my head for some goofy ass reason. Deja vu.
Oh, yeah.
I've had some strong deja vu situations that made me remember a dream,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be like, "Oh shit, I had a dream about this not too long ago." Like it's that strong, you know. So could you look at that as a type of looking glass?
You could.
They do say that when we sleep, we become multidimensional in a sense. And looking glass, from what I understand, is similar in principle because it's based off of an individual's consciousness, and from that conscious perspective, uh, uh, a form of possibility. Does that make sense? Like as
Mm-hmm.
far as like future outcome,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily. God, I'm doing a horrible job at describing this. I'm not for certain, but I think when they use uh, looking glass, the person, I think it responds or reacts to the person that's using it. Does that make sense?
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
Well, and they
So
couldn't see past like 2012 or something. Supposedly.
the enemy can't, from what I
Right.
understand.
Right.
So they're just flying blind at this point. I mean, look how wild all of their decision making has been in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, none of it makes sense.
Pretty
And if
panicky.
you ask, and if you ask me, when they had that Davos conference, Putin should have accidentally dropped rockets on that bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would have solved a lot of problems.
All right. Let me ask you this.
Mm.
You cut the head off the snake, but you probably don't. A lot of them skipped that last Davos, if you noticed.
Did they?
Yeah. Like, I can't remember if Schwab went, but some key players were like, I don't feel like going this year. Maybe they kind of thought wasn't a safe year to have them all in one place.
You know, with all the truths coming out about like COVID, how they try to aggressively push this ESG nonsense and climate change nonsense, and they're not getting the kind of turnout that they want with, like, say, the situations in the Netherlands where they're trying to take farmer land and stuff like that with the excuse of, climate change and you shall eat the Z bugs, right? They see how And like what I was saying earlier, these protests in France and whatnot, they're seeing how it's not floating with the people no more.
Right. The firefighters are helping.
After the whole COVID nonsense, you think you're gonna scare somebody about climate change?
Right.
Most people are gonna feel like, first, we've been there, done that. How dare you ask us to do it again over the damn climate? You know what I mean? Like,
yep. Somebody was saying they wanted to combine climate and COVID kind of more strongly, and they just failed because for whatever reason. Two Rivers.
Because of climate.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. What?
I was going to read what Two Rivers was saying. He's like, a lot of them skip Davos. They know we know they know.
Right. No, they were going to try to accelerate the thought of, because of climate change, COVID is evolving.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Right. They're combining two spells. They should know better.
Oh, we were talking about food earlier, where I was. Have you seen the articles where they want to put mRNA in livestock and produce?
I just happened to be looking at, for some reason, how's that on my screen? Heather D pointed that out. But yes, I've seen.
I don't even get how that's legal.
Right.
Because you have to have like a form of consent or like disclosure on what you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
We have labeling laws and shit. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think we follow those anymore.
We do to a degree, but they do a lot of wordplay to navigate around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the Gates, Bill Gates coming out with that appeal.
Oh yeah, that thing.
And it's I hate. I'm sorry for the F-bomb, but quit fucking with shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I get so irritated with these people. You know what I mean? Like,
they're just driving us to our local farmers, right?
I just started growing some different types of herbs and stuff. And I got these little itsy bitsy cilantro popping out, little teeny tiny dill popping out, some parsley, some sage. I got too small of a space to like really go hard with like vegetables and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, go local, people. Definitely go local.
We have to.
For everything. Like, I mean, even when it comes down to like meat, try to find I know they're rare nowadays, but try to find a regular ass butcher that gets their meat from a regular ass farm,
Yep.
Because I don't know if you remember this or saw the article about a year or so ago. The government was cracking down on this Amish rancher because he wouldn't use all the injections and on the cattle.
Right.
It was too clean, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I forget what the outcome was with that. I want to say it benefited the Amish guy, but I haven't thought about that in so long. I don't remember all the details. But back then I thought that was odd, And then you look at them wanting to put mRNA in the livestock and whatnot. And I'm just like, stop, people. Like, you must be working for the devil. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you're putting it in these products that we're all buying, you're going to be eating that shit too. The people that's pushing for it.
That thing you were talking about, Heather D40090 has put in the chat a couple of links about putting the COVID vax in the food.
I'm not even sure how that would work because vaccines need to be refrigerated.
Well, I think they probably just stick it in the animals. That's what I was thinking, but I could be wrong.
Well, in the livestock, yeah, but how would that work with produce? And then when you cook it, the fact that a vaccine needs to be refrigerated, how does that even work when you cook it?
Probably denature it somewhat, so it should help.
I don't know. I just wish these people would stop messing with shit. Just let it. What happened to normal?
Right. They don't like
You know?
normal. While back, Rev said that B3 helps, B6 dream in color, B12 helps to remember. I thought that was interesting.
All your B vitamins are energy related. So wouldn't that make it hard to go to sleep?
Well, maybe make the dreams more vivid.
Or just take your B vitamins in the daytime,
Not sure.
like in the
That's a good
morning
point,
or
yeah.
something?
Green Dragon 64 is in the house and mentioned earlier has premonition dreams that come to fruition. That's probably kind of annoying sometimes, Green Dragon 64, or is it mostly good or is it a mixed bag? I would think it'd be a mixed bag.
For me, I don't have premonition dreams, but while I'm up and conscious, out of nowhere, I'll just get a warning about something. And those type of warnings are usually something dangerous. You know what I mean? That could really could hurt me. You know what I mean? And it might not happen that day or that week, but sometime during that month, I know to pay attention to a thing. I'll give you an example. I'm driving one day, and out of nowhere, I get this warning about a car accident. And I'm like, okay. At this point in my life, I know to pay attention to that little voice, especially when it's on that level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a month goes by. And this is before I had that BMW. And I don't remember why we were on the south side of Indian School, but it was rush hour traffic. And I got to get to the north side of Indian School and drive to our home. I think I was trying to cut through the rush hour traffic through the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making a left turn on the Indian School, which is Main Street here in Phoenix. And I'm in the turning lane, and now I got my right blinker on to get over into traffic because I got to turn off into the neighborhood on the other side of Indian School. And so I'm sitting there. Now keep in mind, I've already had this warning riding with me for like a month, right? I don't know what this accident includes. I just know to pay attention. And so me and Bernie, we're just talking. And because I'm waiting to get over in this rush hour, I'm constantly looking up in the rearview mirror to see, can I get over yet? You know what I mean? We're just sitting there talking, and I just happen to look up, and there's this white truck hauling ass down the middle lane right behind me.
Mm.
There's no cars in between us. This is the turning lane, right? And when I say hauling ass, dude, I'm talking like 60. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking, and I'm like, when is he going to slow down? Because he's getting super close. You know what I mean? And I realize, and it's one of them old, Dukes of Hazzard pickup trucks. You know what I'm saying? The old ones built like a tank, And he is hauling ass. And he starts getting way too close to slow down. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Bernie didn't know what was going on. So I hit the gas pedal hard as shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In this little four banger that we were driving at the time.
Right.
So it hesitated.
Oh, man, yeah.
And so I finally get traction. And now I'm hauling ass down the turning lane. You know? And at the last minute, he swerved from out behind me, but he clipped the passenger side bumper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the car jerked hard as hell. And I turned left into this little parking lot because there's a little plaza thing right there. And I heard something hit something, and I heard glass break, right? But as I'm turning into this parking lot, I'm not looking behind me. And there's some people at the bus stop right there. And me and Bernie get out the car, and I'm walking towards the back of the car to look to see, what happened. And it wasn't much. There was a scuff mark on that side of the bumper, but that was about it. And a guy comes over. He jogs over to us, and he's like, "Hey, are you guys all right?" He was like, "I saw all of that. It looked like he did it on purpose." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so now I'm looking around, and now traffic is cleared up because it had built up because of the stoplight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
In rush hour. And now I'm looking around, and I'm like, "Where did they go?" I was like, "What did he hit?" Because I heard it. I heard him hit something. You know what I mean? Other than us, right?
Right.
And I heard glass break. There's no glass in the street. Everything is gone. You know what I'm saying? But my original point is I got a warning out of nowhere to pay attention to shit. Had it not been for that warning, I wouldn't have been as adamant, looking back and forth, through the rear view.
Right.
I wouldn't have, and he would have smashed right into us, dude.
Oh yeah, you guys would have been
Now,
super whiplashed.
no, 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 it would have been worse than that. The
Yeah,
gas
maybe
tank would have
killed.
exploded.
Yeah,
We would have got wet from the gas. I was smoking a cigarette. You know what I mean?
might have blown up. Yep.
Uh, I don't know where those warnings come from. Um, I've read things that talk about we have a higher self,
Mm-hmm.
right? Individually. I've read things that talk about those warnings come from the higher self. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I was never taught how to use it. You know what I mean? For me, it just happens when it happens. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Green Dragon answered the question I asked earlier. He said usually it's inconsequential, just moments in his own future. So it's not like really, like he doesn't know something so specific and horrible coming in advance. I don't want to talk about it too much, Green Dragon, because I don't want to mess it up for you.
I kind of understand what he means. He's kind of saying what I'm saying.
Yeah, he
Like,
is.
Yeah.
And Rev says, and I'm pretty sure he was talking about how they stick it in the food. They actually genetically insert it, believe it or not, with CRISPR is what I think he's saying. He said they used CRISPR. And that was back when we were talking about that.
Right. No, I get, see, the way I see that is that would edit the DNA of the produce.
Right. But would it keep growing like that?
So
it would. They'd have to edit it when it's tiny, like in seed form.
So I mean, does it create a spike protein? See, because the mRNA is designed to target a specific sequence in our DNA, and it shuts down aspects of your immune system, right?
Yep.
I need to read more about that one. Like, I know enough to understand it. I just,
yeah. Well, let me say something about that. Let me squeeze in real quick. The Texan says he's received knowledge and understanding in vivid dreams. Love it. If I'm going to have a spike protein come into my life, I'd rather eat it on accident and put it in my stomach and have it grinded down than to have it stuck under my skin where I don't have that first round of immune system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not saying it's good that they're doing this, and obviously, but like, the body has defense mechanisms.
So the way I understand these vaxes is they used HIV, strands of HIV,
Yep.
to go into certain receptors in your blood to get the mRNA in there, right?
Right.
So going through the digestive process, the acids in the stomach and just bile and just all kinds of stuff, it doesn't make sense to me how that could absorb into your blood.
Right. I don't think it would as much. It's probably not good to eat, but it's safer than have it injected.
Right, right. I agree with you on that one. My point is just stop messing with shit. Like,
right. Yeah.
God.
No, okay. I forgot who said this in the chat the other day, but I was so stoked to see it. I think this was on Sunday night. Oh, who was it? It might have been Two Rivers. I probably got it wrong. But like this thing they're doing with, they probably did steal some bat DNA and stick it with.
Did.
Yeah. But that's a form of creating these Nephilim, half human, half bat. They were doing that back in the days of Noah.
I was thinking about this a couple of days ago because I was reading an article. and they were talking about, they specifically worded it as humanized mice.
Right.
And as soon as I read that, I stopped, and I'm like, is that the same thing as saying, chimera?
Exactly. Thank you.
I mean, it stopped me like hard in my
Right.
tracks.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, that's gotta mean, a type of chimera. Right.
Which means, and I know the Texan will love this because he says this all the time, nothing new under the sun. They've been doing this for hundreds of years.
But no, there's new what's Tom Fitton.
Yeah.
Just came out with they got some information about these vaccines and whatnot.
Yep.
I think it was like a FOIA thing, but it took them like a year and a half for them to actually get it. You know what I mean? I was just watching this yesterday. Dude, he's got like 500 pages of just, what they were doing and how it talks about Fauci specifically doing gain of function research, specifically with bats. That's how when this shit first came out, they knew to blame it on a bat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like,
it's bat soup.
How this man is still walking free is beyond me.
Do you remember Norm Macdonald? Early on, he made the joke, they shouldn't be, he was buying into the story, but he's like, they shouldn't be eating bat soup. They should eat like, I can't believe it's bat soup, or I can't believe it's not bat soup.
Like the butter?
Yeah.
What is that butter made out of?
Oh, I think it's like motor oil or something. I don't really know.
Man. You know what that reminded me of is there's this lady that I was working with at Honeywell. I see her in the smoker section all the time. And she's got a small thing of petroleum jelly, right?
Yeah.
She's rubbing it on her lips and rubbing it on her elbows and just all over, bro, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, Gladys, you about to give yourself cancer. She's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it literally says petroleum jelly on the bottle. That Vaseline, right? And I was like, where do you think that comes from? And I was like, that's a oil industry thing to lube the fucking, my bad, to lube the machinery. You know what I mean? And I was like, stop using that. I'll bring you some coconut. I got an extra bottle of coconut oil. I'll bring you that bottle tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when you said probably motor oil, it just made me giggle a little bit because that popped in my head.
The Texan points out they admitted to cloning the sheep. Remember Dolly? 1996. Clone. That's creepy. They've just
I've come across some interesting things that's hard to prove. I like being aware of the possibilities, but I've read some things that talk about cloning going a lot farther back than that.
So I get extremely woo, especially when I'm left alone on the Sunday night show. And Sloan's heard me say this before. The simple answer is all the stories are true.
You remember, do they still sell that paper called The Inquirer, I think it was?
A couple things about that. I think you could still get it. You know, Trump is kind of supposedly pretty good friends with the old publisher of that thing.
Yeah.
That's something you can pick up, you hear every now and then. And my dad's mom, grandma, read that thing all the time. And looking back, I think she was reading the real news.
Remember that movie Men in Black where he's like, we need to check the hot sheet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sheet.
That's a disclosure right there.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny, but not funny. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Got to check the hot sheets.
Right.
We didn't have much topic on this topic for tonight.
No.
I'm assuming that's why Duppy and Thaggy aren't in the house.
Probably.
This particular topic is pretty self-explanatory. That's why I didn't mind going off topic.
It is, and it's a repeat of what they did in Egypt. So we've already seen it before.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But I find it interesting that they did it again and made a pile of money the second time.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
We were like, wait, so is this his hustle? You know,
right,
like
exactly.
I know we're supposed to look at Abraham as being a good guy. You know, I'm not knocking the guy. But the fact that he's done it more than once, it's like, how can you not look at it as a hustle? He was using his wife's hotness to get a plate at the table, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you not look at it, you know, how can you look at it any other way, kind of, you know?
Everett Home has put a... Here, you want to listen to this? It's pretty short. This could be interesting. I don't know in that I've not seen it yet, but it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. Here, let me share. Share Messenger.
Aisle, and I asked them, why is there an aisle in the middle of the classroom? And they said, it's so that way we can welcome the devil Lucifer. And I asked them, what are you talking about? And then there was a tent in front of the aisle, and they said, if you get the mark from him, you can get food, water, shelter, and everything you need. But if you do not get the mark, then you can go inside the tent, but you don't get anything. And when we went in, it was like a bathroom, and there was this little box, but it looked like a stand.
Ooh, that's the tent.
And it said, you are going to pass the third seal from God. But when I got out, everything was destroyed. And I couldn't find you guys. The class was torn apart. I didn't see you guys in the Bible. I saw this aisle.
That's pretty interesting.
You know, I've been seeing a lot of videos like this lately.
Yeah.
I saw one, and this lady, when she was trying to describe this dream, people, the way she was shooken, you can't act that good. It's just not possible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I believe her in believing her dream, right?
Right.
But I'm trying to remember the beginning part of how she described it. She was driving home, and all the stars just started to slowly descend, right, from the sky. And people were pulling over, getting out of their cars, you know, taking pictures and video. Like, what the hell? And she was saying that she was disturbed to the point where she wasn't interested in stopping and looking at what was happening. She just wanted to get home to her family. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so the closer she's getting home, the more the stars are descending, right? She gets to the house, and at this point, the stars start just attacking shit. You know what I mean? And she's worried about her neighbors, so she's telling them to, hey, come into my house, come into my house. You know, a bunch of them ran into her place, and she was like, don't open your eyes no matter what you hear, no matter what. And she started praying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can hear people screaming. You know, there's some explosions and whatnot. And I forget how long she said that this was taking place. But eventually, you know, there was no more noise. And the whole time, it was kind of like that scene in Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, basically, is how she's describing.
Oh, right, yeah.
They got their eyes closed, but
Mm-hmm.
she's praying, and, you know, people are, you know, praying with her. And so when it's quiet, they finally get the nerve to, like, peek out the door, and, you know, there's houses on fire, cars burnt up. There's people burnt alive in she said like in fetal positions,
Mm-hmm.
and she had touched one and it just crumbled in ash, right? And that's just one
Yeah.
story. I've seen a lot of people talk about end time scenarios, and when I see stuff like that, I'm like, man, I hope I don't have to experience that shit. Just take me in rapture. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Would be nice. Yeah.
can I have the first plane ticket?
I know some people who want to be in the fight, and I'm like, I don't know if you want to be in the fight.
No, because at that point in the game, it's not guaranteed that you get to cross over.
I
I
cotton
get
with you
I,
on
I
that.
get
Yeah.
that it's gonna be necessary for people to be here
Right.
afterwards
Yep.
to re-educate and redirect and
Mm-hmm.
start over. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But man, it's hard to say one way or another. You know, is it happening right now? You know,
Right.
like you hear stories about the Euphrates drying up,
Yep.
and isn't it in one of the Revelations?
Absolutely. Well, okay. So I don't think it go back 30 years, 40, even 20, especially
Okay.
go pre 9/11, pre
30 years
2001.
ago, I was 16.
Yeah, just go back enough time and you're like, if you had flashed forward and looked at what life is like today, you'd be like, that is a whole nother world.
True.
So something's going down. Just the question is, what is it? Like, is it the final round? The Texans saw 20 years ago, evening news, just reading the chat. In Japan, a neuroscientist grows human brain cells on a computer chip, and it starts exchanging electrical currents. And that was 20 years ago.
That was 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I
My
remember.
My wife worked for a neuroscientist for a brief while that was doing stuff along that level about then, 25 years ago.
I remember articles like that. I didn't realize that was 20 years ago. Wow. Time just flies by the older you get, you know?
Yeah, it does.
If that was 20 years ago, imagine what they're doing with these Elon Musk chips now.
So I kind of sometimes think that they're wanting us to think they can do these amazing things. But if I see a robot convince me that it's real, I'm pretty much going to think it's demon possessed, that they finally figured out how to do that.
You know, I've thought about this too. There's no way that you're going to be able to convince me that you got the soul transferred into a chip.
Right.
If anything, you figured out a way to break the receiver and just make the disconnection between how our soul uses the body. Because the body, I don't know if you people realize this, the body is not who you are, people. It's through the pineal gland that you get to wear the meat suit. You know what I mean? If anything, I would think that they figured out how to disconnect that connection
Mm-hmm.
to slip, I don't know, say like a demon into the body or something.
Sure.
The Nephilim, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The ones that are cursed to walk without bodies, right?
Right.
I know that's, just 5 years ago, if I was to say something like that, I would sign myself up for like
Right.
insane asylum,
Yeah.
I was just telling due diligence. I never thought I'd be that guy to be preaching shit,
Right.
But dude, I've learned so much in comparison to these normies that don't take the time to learn anything.
Right.
That I feel compelled to share information now.
Oh, that's good though.
But when you have hard-headed neighbors like the one that I was talking about earlier,
Right.
you're still not asking yourself questions.
Right.
Like I don't understand that. And even if I try to give her some information, she just starts arguing with me. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And she'll try to talk over me on why she did certain things or why she thinks the way she thinks, and
Mm-hmm.
automatically putting herself in the position of I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. There's no reason why we're even talking about this. I'm right. I know all of my CNN facts. Like,
Right. Yeah, we've seen that, right? That's because they can't afford the cognitive dissonance, so they have to defend.
I will say this much: as far as the spike protein and what mRNA they might be slipping into our food, I would highly suggest people buy Lugol's iodine.
Yeah.
That's the one that Nurse Penny was talking about.
Yeah. I
I, I
remember that.
get I get a 2-pack from Amazon. That's supposed to help detoxify with the heavy metals. People are coming up with all kinds of things to try to get the mRNA out
Mm-hmm.
with the spike proteins. I've gone over too many things, and now it's all jumbled in my head.
Yeah.
So I can't be too specific, but I do know I know enough about the Lugol's iodine. 2-3 times a week, people in your coffee, whatever. You know what I mean?
The
So
Texan comes in with the soul occupies the human brain.
I look at the brain as a restrictor.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense,
Yeah, like a governor.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because even as a youngster, I always felt like there was, well, two things. I always felt like there was more for us, but restricted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, with the more that I'm learning and everything, it's hard to say, but with all of these rabbit holes, it has brought me closer to God. I could say that.
Mm-hmm.
I still get confused about some of the legitimacies of certain things. And I still get conflicted on, you know, the Bible being based off of other stories from ancient times and things of that nature. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But even if the Bible is incorrect, the foundation of it on what's fundamentally good, that's there. Can it be a stepping stone to put you in a spiritual direction? I believe so. You know, um, it's hard to figure out what's perfect. So just trust your heart and follow what's right. I mean, drinking a cup of coffee is okay. Sacrificing babies isn't. It's
Right.
pretty simple. You know what I mean?
There you go. Rev says we restrict ourselves.
To a degree, I
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
I have to just for a second put in the idea that I forgot exactly how you just said what you said, but the gist of it was, you know, well, I'm still looking for the Bible to steer me wrong in anything, and I haven't seen it do it yet.
That's a great way of putting it. Because if you really think about it, the Bible is talking about unfortunate things that happen to people. It's talking about how it's taken bad people to have a better outcome. some of these converted bad people stuck to their conviction even in death,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was nothing to gain out of their sacrifice. Like, and when I'm a good example of those would be like the different happenings with the apostles.
Mm-hmm.
They all suffered in demise in the end.
Yep.
The only one that I don't know about is how did Magdalene die?
Oh, let me see if I can. I don't actually know.
While you look that up, I'm gonna go use the restroom and get some more coffee. I don't think I've ever asked myself that because I honestly don't know.
I don't know if we know.
I know she has a book of her own. I just never read it.
Mm-hmm. How did Mary Magdalene die? I don't think we know. There's the cricket. Wife dies in childbirth. Lies down and dies. The bishop, so Maximin comes to her and gives her the Eucharist. She cries tears of joy. Penitent ascetic in a cave. So she lived a long life and was redeemed, according to the Golden Legend. Outrageously sensual. Gives up her life of wealth and sin to become a devoted follower. Okay, fair. 14 years, they throw her into the Mediterranean Sea. Persuades. Governor's wife sailed to Rome. Ship is struck by a storm, so shipwrecked. 2 years with Peter in Rome. Last 30, penitent ascetic in a cave. So it sounds like she was about 50, but died natural life. All right. I like that you guys are talking about the Texan. You mentioned what I was going to mention, that whenever there's conception, there's a flash of light that they've seen. The heart is formed and beating way before the brain is formed. What starts it beating? Ooh, love it, Everett Home. What kind of vehicle is that? Is that like a Tahoe? I don't think it's a Tahoe. Is that a Cadillac? Can't tell. I'm not so good with SUVs. P-Thaggy, what's going on? Greetings.
What's up, G Ross?
Not too much. Just going
You
over
know,
the Garar thing.
I know I couldn't let it go when I heard those words cross the precipice of Yoda's lips. You guys are still saying that he pimped out his wife.
I really
couldn't let
restricted
it go.
myself. I really held back. But they are running a hustle, no question.
Look, the passage from today proves that hypothesis wrong.
Right, but it's a hustle though. Can we at least say
No.
that?
Look,
Okay.
I can see why you're confused.
Okay,
Listen,
fair.
this is the second time that we know of where Abraham was given payoff money. He was given
Yes.
payoff money, okay?
Get your barrenness infertility plague off of my house.
Yeah. So he gets payoff money. First from Pharaoh and then from the king of Gerar
Right.
or Gerar. But did you catch, let me find the verse. Did you catch where he said that this was the game plan ever since I left the city of Ur since we left my father's household?
I thought he might have meant Haran, but yes, I take your point.
Yeah. He said, look, I'm not lying. And he goes, by the way, and I think I mentioned this last week or the week before. This was always the plan. This was never not the plan. It's not a new plan. He's not scheming. This was always the plan.
Well, I agree. But so let me kind of argue the other side. In Egypt, they accidentally discovered that, oh, they'll pay us to leave. Now they know that that can happen. So
okay, here it is, though. Here it is, verse 13, chapter 20, verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, when God caused me to journey from my father's house, I asked her to do me this favor and say, he is my brother. When I left my father's house, yeah, it could be Haran, but it could be Ur. It could have been the plan ever since they got married. Right?
You're so hot, I will never defend your honor.
I just hate how you guys say that every time, that he's hoeing out, he's pimping out his wife, and it's like, guys.
I held that back as much as I could. Did you notice I've dialed it back a little, tiny bit?
Yeah, well, I just couldn't leave it alone.
No, I think you're bringing up a solid point. I'm no longer saying, because I think you're right. The phrase "he's pimping her out," it may be mischaracterizing it slightly.
It's not only mischaracterizing; it's, in one respect, sacrilegious.
Well,
right. Yeah.
Right. So this guy, he never slept with her. Pharaoh never slept with her either, though, right?
That's right.
No, that's right.
But they still got the curse.
Because they were going to. It was a warning curse.
Okay, so that's the second topic. It may be premature, but I want to seed it. I want to plant the idea. And this I got from Duffy's favorite guy, Ralph Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
In one of his lectures, he's like, yeah, there's so many citations in the Bible where they talk about the women were barren, and then God swooped down and allowed them to have kids.
Right.
It's like, no. As a Bible skeptic, he's like, no, what we're talking about is child marriage. These women were like 9 and 10 years old when they got married. Just like Muhammad was well known to have married a 9-year-old girl.
Right.
They weren't barren, they were children.
Right. So they couldn't have kids yet.
Right. So that kind of flies in the face of biblical literalism.
But Sarah's like 90.
Yes, that's why I said it's premature. But you're going to see this theme repeated over and over again throughout the Bible. That somehow everyone was barren, and then one day, because of God's grace, He swoops down and makes everyone fertile. It's like, well, wait a minute, is that how it happened, or were they kids?
That is a dark way of looking at it.
It is. It is. It's. I would say it's biblical skepticism.
Did you guys ever see the video of the Middle Eastern newscaster or something? They were having some kind of show, and he just lost it because he went more in depth with the Bible and came across the part where Muhammad was married to the 9-year-old girl, right? And he just lost it, talking about Muhammad being a pedophile and we were lied to and blah blah blah. And the other two co-hosts were trying to calm him down.
Right.
Did you guys ever see that video?
I never saw it.
Oh, dude, for like a few minutes, he's just going off. I mean, yelling, going off. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll try to find it and send it to you later.
Cool. That'd be good. You know me, Pythagi, I like to float the sort of non-miraculous possible explanations, but I don't usually really buy into them. I like to float them almost like Steel Manning. Could Sarah have had some super awesome contraceptive technology that she was sharing with the ladies, and the dudes were like, what's going on? And then they kind of countered it, and that's why we find out in the next chapter, Sarah actually got like a fertility treatment.
I mean,
That brings a bell with me about there was something ancient, like some kind of herb.
Yeah.
Can you Google it real quick?
Google some kind of herb.
That's the irony here is the Bible skeptic and the biblical literalist have this in common, that anything is possible. Everything's on the table.
Fair. Yes.
Google like ancient herb contraceptive or something. I vaguely remember something about that.
Yeah. Silphium. Maybe silphium.
What is it?
A contraceptive medicine from back in the day.
What is it made out of?
Silphium. It's a plant.
That's the name of the plant?
Mm-hmm. Laserwort. I think laserwort would be what you would do to a wart. You'd laser it.
Actually, you know what? I might have this backwards. What I'm thinking about might have had to do with making a person more fertile. The more I think about it.
Yeah.
I got so much in this big ass head of mine, I get confused sometimes.
So Thaggy, any other notes for? I only did 11 verses, unfortunately. I was low on time this week.
No, not really. Like you guys said, I wasn't going to call in because it's kind of,
yeah,
wasn't
a boatload of content. Let me check my line of questions. We covered that.
I had an Abraham thing that popped up on me earlier this week, and I was going to ask you about it, and I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, we literally covered it all. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I need to get better at taking notes, even when I say, "Oh, I'll remember," because I generally don't after a couple days.
Can we can at least say, like, I don't think the text always smiles with Abraham's instincts and behavior, but he still remains a prophet and the power runs through him. So God says you have to have Abraham intercede for you, and then it'll get all fixed. So the flawed warlord still acts as the agent.
Say that again. I was trying to remember the Abraham thing. What'd you say?
Well, Abraham is seen as, we talked about earlier, he guesses wrong about how godless Gerar is or isn't. So he's like a flawed warlord, but he's still, at the end of the story, you have to have him pray for you to get the fix. So he's still used as an agent of the Lord, even though his judgment is off.
But he wasn't wrong in his assumption. They are God. I mean, these are Canaan. I mean, these are Philistines. The king of Gerar is a Philistine. The area that they're visiting.
Right. I'm oversimplifying. They are godless. They don't follow Yahweh. But he also said, and I figured you'd kill me. You would basically act inhonorably. And I think Abimelech acts honorably.
He does, but God scared him straight, right?
Right, but God specifically says, I know your heart, therefore I'm going to protect you.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what God says.
Yeah, earlier.
In a nutshell.
No, he first says, go back to when Abraham is 75 and he's living in the city of Ur.
Right.
No, we're talking about.
I'm going to be with you always.
Yeah, I'm talking about the king of Gerar, though. Yeah, I'm talking about the king of Gerar. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, God basically was like, "Hey, I know your heart, bro. Had you known."
Oh, right, because he pleaded that his intentions were on the up and up.
Right.
Which is kind of a strange thing, anyways, to say, well, I'm going to scoop this girl up. I'm going to send some guys over to scoop her up.
Right. He's the
I
king,
guess
though.
that was within the law
Yeah.
in that time, in that place, I guess.
Well, he's the king. He'd
I
probably
just
write
have a
that
hard
law.
time.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time thinking that God's like, you right, you right, you right. Why would he
Right.
say that?
Right. Right.
No, because read verse 26 or
Well,
20, 6. And God said unto him in a dream, yeah, I know that thou didst this thing, integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her.
Right. Well, that's almost like a time travel paradox, right? He comes to in a dream, so he won't consummate the marriage because he knows the guy would never have done anything wrong on purpose.
whoa, 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 whoa. Who said anything about marriage?
Or whatever they maybe they weren't getting
Well, in the
married.
next verse it says, now therefore restore the man his wife.
Right, give
For
back
he is
to
a
Abraham. Yeah.
But if we're talking about Abimelech, all we know is that he took her into his household.
Yeah, they may not have been going to get married. I was confusing with the Egyptian one who I think was going to marry her.
Okay.
But you're right. Yeah, no, they might have just been concubining.
I really don't know what the metaphor is here.
Yeah.
Especially because it's going to happen again in Isaac's story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to see what the metaphor is. But
That's a really good point.
as a biblical literalist, you don't have to worry about that.
Could it be? Well, no, but I should try to plumb the wisdom of the text. So, could it be that you have generation after generation of kids asking parents, "Wait, why again do the kings just get to walk around snatching women off the street?"
Well,
And they have to kind of they have to accommodate how regular people behave, how kings behave, how sometimes it's okay, and it's like they're kind of crafting it as they go, and it's evolving.
I think of Chinese emperors. You know how many freaking concubines Chinese emperors had?
right.
It got to the point where it's not the Forbidden City, but the palace before that, the Ming, the Shining, whatever, the Ming one.
Right.
It had like several buildings in the back of the property. Very nice architecture, big buildings. And they served only to house the concubines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's from somewhat more recent history, but if you're a potentate even today, if you're the Sultan of Brunei or you're the King of Saudi Arabia, do you imagine it's any different? Don't you think they can have whatever women they want?
Right.
Hasn't it always been that way?
Yeah.
I was going to go a different direction with it.
Isn't that why we say it's good to be king?
I can tell you guys from my personal experience, I've messed around with a couple of married chicks. And even though we didn't get caught, I experienced some of the worst luck for
Yeah, you
long
told us.
periods of times.
I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
So to read, God coming to him and being like, look, bro, I know you didn't, had you known, you wouldn't have, did a thing. So I'm just going to warn you. Right.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I did do a thing. I didn't take certain things serious.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But God let me know afterwards, like, you fucked up, right? Oh,
Right.
F-bomb, sorry.
That's okay.
But no, I can tell you from my own personal experience. Because one chick, I didn't even know she was married.
Right.
They had been separated for a couple of years, but technically they were still married. And I found out by accident. And I was just looking at her like, and I even told her, I was like, so you're the reason for my bad luck? God does not
Yeah.
like it when you mess with a married chick. I don't know what it is about that promise. He does not like that shit.
Yeah.
To this day, he doesn't like that.
Fair point.
Now, people could say, "Oh, Black Yoda is just coincidental that you had some bad." Yeah, you know what? I've been with a lot of people. I don't see that as coincidental.
Right.
You know what I didn't have bad luck with the regular people.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is the non-married ones. You know what I mean?
Right. That makes sense.
And to read, text like this in the back of my head, I'm relating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I get the whole concubine thing. You know, the guy in charge gets to have his way with whatever, right? Comes at a price. It's not cheap to keep all those women happy.
Well, I agree. And I would think if you're a king of a country, you're going to need some strong lieutenants and a good army, and you can't snatch up all the women. Like,
Wait,
you're
hold,
going
hold
to,
on. Wait, hold on.
yeah,
I was thinking about the Chinese version that Daggy was talking about just now.
yeah.
Hold on, bear with me. Uh, so you got a couple of buildings that's housed up all of these concubines, right? Two scenarios popped in my head. You got to have guards to keep them from fighting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you need like another set of guards to keep the guards from messing around with them?
Well, that's why the guards probably have to be eunuchs.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. I forgot about that.
The Texan says, wish somebody would have told my ex-wife that yet, Black Yoda.
Ooh, sorry to hear that, Texan. I
Yeah.
I remember your story now that he mentions it.
Well, and I only read it because he put it in the chat. I agree. Sorry to hear that.
Well, no, he was open about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, I got it.
Actually, I want to say I was talking to him when he said it. That was a while back. I don't remember. Now he's a good
Jim.
dude.
Yeah.
He's an open book, people. If y'all want to talk to the Texan, he's an open book and welcoming. You know, very relatable guy. It's funny. As different as we are, we have a lot of things in common. Him and I.
I've been slowly getting to know the Texan and really digging that process.
Oh yeah, he's a good dude. Matter of fact, do you know what part of Texas he's in?
Somewhere in Texas. I ain't going to be doxing people.
Well, I guess what I mean is it anywhere close to the 10? Because when I go to San Antonio, all I got to do is jump on the 10 here in Phoenix, and
If you're taking
go all the way.
I-10, yeah, you should be able to. You should be. Yeah, I-10's pretty much in the thick of things.
Yeah.
Hello, Just Jim is in the house.
Hey, what's up, Jim? We haven't talked to him in a while.
Mm.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about. I haven't seen Norm lately. Has anybody else?
Yeah, I saw. Let's see. Where did I see Norm? Norm sent me a DM. Yeah, he was Sunday night. He was in the chat for Sloan TV, Rev, and G Ross present Armor Up.
Okay, that's good to hear. That crossed my mind the other day. I was like, hold on, I haven't seen nowhere in chats. Normally, I run into him on a regular basis.
The Texan will mention Dallas County. So I think 10 runs pretty close to Dallas County. Let me check.
I've never gone past San Antonio on the 10, so I'm not sure what comes after that.
Well, the 10 goes east-west, so you're going to have to turn left at some point.
I remember one place that my son's mother lived was right off of the 10. So the directions for somebody that doesn't know San Antonio couldn't have been better. You know what I mean? Literally, I took the 10 to that street and made a right.
So actually, you're 4 hours from. So Dallas is 20, San Antonio is 10. You're talking about when you say the 10, you mean Interstate 10?
Yeah.
So San Antonio, yeah, you're talking about like half the height of Texas. You're gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
turning left and going up 35 for like probably 5 hours, honestly. Maybe well, with traffic it can get nasty.
Really?
Yeah.
I mostly drove at night back and forth to San Antonio. The last time I went, we went. I want to say we left around noon,
Yeah.
early noon, and we still didn't get there until like 2:30 in the morning. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But in the evening, that's the only traffic I know. So
Yeah.
I mean, because the first part of that journey, we're still getting out of Arizona and through New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Those are three big states.
Oh, dude,
Arizona, New
driving
Mexico,
across
Texas.
Texas. Oh my God, Texas is huge.
It is big.
You could drive all day and still be in Texas.
Yeah.
There was a podcaster that was talking about that,
Yeah.
and he lives over in Europe somewhere, and he was talking about that length of time. You could cross like different countries. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Texas is huge, people. God. The thing that gets me is when they talk about the world is overpopulated. No,
Mm-mm.
it's not. Drive through Texas and all that dirt. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
Yep.
world is not overpopulated.
No, it's not. I hate to be the guy that looks at the clock. However, I'm getting sleepy.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of topic, and I'm eager to start drinking a beer. Not trying to rub it in, G. Ross.
Yeah, Thaggy, I don't know if you heard, but I got to stay off the sauce until Saturday night.
Yep, I was lurking. I was here.
I have found that when you're fairly working out and you really want top performance, you kind of have to be completely cut back 4 days before. And I wanted to do some training too, so I kind of really rolled back. You can see my hand; it's steady, right? I shoot with this one.
You know what's funny? I don't know what they call it. It's not what Michael J. Fox has, Parkinson's. It's not that.
Right?
But Bernie, she shakes,
Yeah.
right? It's a neurological thing. We do know that. But there's a pill that she takes for it. And if I get loud about something, it makes it worse for her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because she thinks I'm attacking her personal, but I'm not. You know, she's used to being around her ex-husband from a long time ago. You know what I mean? And so I might get upset about something, but then I'll ask her, "Why are you taking it personal?" I'm just mad. Like, fuck, you wrecked the car. How am I not supposed? You know,
Right.
situations like that, right? The funny thing is, my father noticed it before I did. When she drinks, she stops shaking.
Mm.
That's like the opposite.
Well, it's like a slight sedative, and she's probably having overfiring neurons or something.
I thought about that as well. Like, maybe she has heavy metals in the brain or something, and it's shorting shit out. You know what I'm saying? That's another reason why I want her taking that Lugos on a regular basis. You know?
That would be good.
But yeah, I feel sorry for you, bro, because I'm gonna be knocking knees back.
Well, Saturday's not too far from now.
Yeah.
Late Saturday. Was it to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? 3 days.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you stopped by, Thaggy.
Yeah, I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't. I could not let
I
it
really
sit there
did.
like
I
that.
really did try to dial it back.
Well,
It's
not
just a
enough.
weird. It's just a weird part of the Bible. Like, I know people probably expected more from me last week, but to be honest with you, people, it's just a weird part of the Bible.
It is.
We expected more when you went on and on about your love life and all the pussy that you smashed. Wow. Okay.
Well, no, I mean like about the whole Lot's daughters and whatnot.
You do,
Like,
hey, Yoda, don't hold back, by the way.
it's just a weird topic because the whole, getting them drunk. I don't even see how that works.
Oh, when we were talking about Lot, yeah. I mean, we were all skeptical. We're like, wait a minute. So
The
we're
whole reason.
supposed to we're
Go ahead.
supposed to believe that you had a little too much to drink and oops, whoopsie.
All
But
right. So the
then
whole.
but then it happened a second time. You're like, oops again. Oops again.
So the whole reason why I brought up that dog pound story was when I was younger, I didn't drink much, only like on occasion, you know. And she asked me to meet her at that club that night. She wanted to introduce me to a friend of hers, and so when we left, I didn't know alcohol could do that to you. That's how
Oh yeah.
much I didn't drink. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know alcohol. I didn't know hydraulics and alcohol worked like that until that night. That was the reason why I
Hydraulic.
brought that story up. I had no idea that was a thing. You know what I mean?
I think we were all with you in the chat. We none of us believed the cover story. I mean, G Ross, does the Bible literalist believe the cover story?
Uh, wait, what
From
was the cover
personal
story?
experience, from your own personal experience in alcohol. Think
Could
about it.
you
Oh,
could you be
yeah,
so far
no,
gone? Like we were talking, isn't there such a thing as whiskey dick? Could you be so far gone that you didn't know you were sleeping with your
yeah,
daughter?
like,
Or
so I do have to take the text literally. I'm gonna say that he can be excused for. It says he was, blotto when she comes in and when she leaves the room or the tent, right?
I know, but Yoda's saying it's not physically possible to
Well,
impregnate
but
him. Okay, yeah.
they could have kept feeding him wine, right? So he, I don't want to get too graphic, but at a certain point, he could probably sober up enough that he's like, "Oh, this is bad," and yet, and then they're like, he's probably feeling super guilty, and they're like, "Have some more wine." So
I mean, yeah, that's why I said earlier, everything's on. Did he do a butt bomb? Did they pour it in his anus? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of explanations for how this cover story could be true,
You
how's
know,
and
the
that?
yet
one thing,
I don't even know
it's
what you're
so hard to
talking about.
believe. It's so
the one
hard to
thing,
believe that he didn't know what he was doing.
the one thing that does make sense to me. All right, whiskey dick for me personally. You had some drinks, but you're not. I mean, but you can still perform. And there's almost like a. I don't want to say numbness, but for me, whiskey D is like pre-drunk. You know what I'm saying? Now, if he was in a pre-drunk state where he could still perform and then got smashed afterwards
And kind of blacked
with the
out.
wine, I could understand forgetting.
Well, Genesis does kind of like to mix around the chronological order of things, so perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it creates like a
I'm
intentional.
I'm teasing. I'm being
No,
playful.
that's fair. Yeah.
That's the only way that makes sense to me. Because if I've been drinking, I'll be going at it and I go to sleep.
You being a
Whatever happened in
faggot.
that previous hour before going to sleep, I have a hard time remembering. But if I been drinking, going at it, wait a little bit before I go to sleep, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's plausible that they had a few drinks and then afterwards he really got smashed. Maybe he was feeling guilty, you know?
Yep. The thing that I find a little hard to explain is that he lets himself get drunk the second night without just kind of saying, he's like, well, they're going to be after me anyway. Let me just get sloshed and see what happens. Like it is a bit of a character question.
I mean, that's a Biden move, if you ask me. Shouldn't you be sad that your wife is dead?
Yeah, some time may have
Well,
passed, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't
That
know.
should
I
be a
mean, he
Biden. That's
was.
like a Biden move. Think about it, because his
Yes.
wife just died in that car accident, and he marries Jill.
Yeah.
But Yoda, this was a righteous man. We can't think such things. This was a righteous man.
Hey,
Well,
a
so
comparison
the
is a comparison. A parallel is a parallel. I get your
well,
point.
I'm teasing again.
No, I
I'm
know.
calling
I
the
know.
whole. I'm calling the whole thing into question, man. I'm right there with you.
That's a Biden move if I've ever seen one. Uh, I mean, how long were they in this cave?
half a year, I'm guessing.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. We really
All
don't
right,
know.
look at it
That's
from
why I
this.
was saying. That's what I'm saying. Like with the Northwest Passage and Antarctica, it's like, how long did they have to despair before they thought, hey, maybe we should eat the infirm? Huh? New
Right?
idea? You guys with me?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
How much time goes by before you start making really bad decisions?
Right.
And where, you know what? And what? All right, Sodom and Gomorrah just got smited, right? We've already established that they've had to be here for a while for them to get desperate like that. Where the hell did the wine come from?
Right.
Exactly. That's how you kind of like undermine a magician's trick. You're like, well, where did the lighter fluid come from?
Well, how long does it take to get a vineyard? They yeah.
Right. I don't buy the cover story at all.
Well, there can be more info there without it being still not accurate. If I
All
said
right,
that.
let's say that there was some grapes nearby. How did they make a barrel to ferment these bitches in?
Maybe they
I
just
mean,
had some Bartles and James.
what was
There's
that one
some
brand?
booze that doesn't age that much, and it's not very tasty.
They had a couple of bottles of Boone's Farm. That's what it was.
Right.
Oh man.
Yep.
I
And
don't
that's
know.
why he never looked back.
Right?
I got my boons. I'm heading up this mountain. I'm never looking back.
Okay, that could be an advertisement.
Uh, no, this is just
This
a
Boone
weird.
Farm saved my life. You don't even understand. This Boone Farm's right here. This saved my life.
I'm a new man.
Oh my, that's
Yeah.
bad. We're not talking about God, people. We're talking about Lot. So we're not going all the
Right.
way to hell. Maybe just halfway.
Mhm. I think we're about to get into more of the Sunday school stuff. So next will be the birth of Isaac, and then Sarah getting mad at Hagar, and then blah blah blah. So should pick back up. I'm thinking.
Yeah, because I think we already established that Sarah was jealous of Hagar once she got pregnant. Because she already kicked her out once.
Right. I was typing in the chat. That's right.
Well, at least in the next couple of chapters, we can put more human experience and apply it to what we can get out of the story.
Yeah, but you know what? After chapter 21, we're going to be talking about one of the most fascinating things. Hey, remember this precious child? Go up and kill him.
Yep.
That's just going to be fascinating.
Because that was an awkward walk back home.
Right.
Yeah, I've already got all my notes in order for that one. I've been
Nice.
looking at that one for a while.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
It
That is gonna
disturbs
be
me.
fun.
Doesn't it disturb you? Like, I'm kind of used to it now, so it doesn't disturb me anymore. But when I first wrestled with it, I'm like, that's just disturbing.
Well, when I bring out my notes, it's going to be far less disturbing.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
once
yeah.
I mean, look at it like this. Once you know God is God, right? And you talk to him, he asks you to do a thing. He's killing the physical body, but he's not killing the soul.
Right.
But there's other problems, Yoda. If he had been promising all this time that to make him the father of a great nation, as soon as his barren wife has her first child, he's like, "I want you to kill it." And
Right.
you're like, "Whoa! You do a double take." You're like, "What?
Right.
You said I was going to be the father of a great nation. I just got this baby. We just had this. She's been barren for
This is
99
an
years.
expensive baby. We had to
This
go
is an
all the way to
expensive.
Garrar to
She's been
make this
barren
baby.
for 99 years,
Yeah.
and you're saying now go ahead and kill it?
Right.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, people.
No, you're
I like
right.
the
Yeah,
way Duppy he said that with enthusiasm too. Like what?
Wait, you mean Thaggy? Yeah. You mean Thaggy.
yeah. It's P
Oh yeah,
Duppy.
yeah, yeah. I'm
So,
sorry.
If you don't do that, you're gonna mess us all up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
so no, I'm trying to reaffirm that this is a really tough ask. It comes out of nowhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it also sets the stage. Where else in the Old Testament are you setting the stage for the central grand reveal of the New Testament? It's right here in chapter 22, 21.
What do you mean by
Oh,
this?
Well, this is a sacrifice of
Oh,
a son that's your first with Sarah. Your only with Sarah.
you know, I've never looked at it like that. I never even compared the two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious in your face, but I just never actually thought about comparing the two.
well, but just for a little foreshadowing, just for a little flavor, do you realize, are you saying if God asked Abraham to sacrifice Ishmael, it would have been far less perplexing?
No, not per se.
No?
Um,
I think this
so
goes back to
Hagar is a child of Mitzrayim or Mishraim, whatever, Egypt. I don't know how hot she was. Like, we keep getting told over and over and over again that Sarah's super hot. There's also an investment there because he keeps wanting to make Ishmael the inheritor, and God keeps saying no, 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 no. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Yeah,
I think asking him to sacrifice Isaac was more significant because Isaac is born in wedlock
yeah,
versus
that's true.
Ishmael.
That's true.
So I think the sacrifice with Ishmael would have been less important.
But we
That's
don't even
reasonable.
know. But yeah, this is where I'm going to come in. You don't even know in this day, in this ancient time, you don't even know if marriage is one of the sacraments. We know very little about his religion. So when you say in wedlock, it's almost meaningless in that time.
Well, no, because we've already talked about how the Pharaoh and this other guy was housing up with Sarah and was getting cursed. So in a sense, there is some establishment between the difference between being married and not.
No, I'm just biting down on a word. If he chooses to sleep with his wife's maidservant, nothing against that. She's basically property, and Sarah said that that's what she wanted.
Right, but he's it still might make Isaac more valuable, like to surrounding culture.
Yeah, in a family geological chart, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But we talked about that earlier. Like we had always been raised to think, yeah, of course. We're sort of dismissive of Ishmael. We're like, yeah, of course it's Isaac. The covenant is with Isaac. Yeah, duh. It's always been that way. But but then we see little snippets where like Abraham's like, yeah, but can it be Ishmael? Because
Right.
he is my firstborn. So like we're not even seeing it. We're dismissive. We're not even seeing it the way Abraham saw it.
Wait, I
He
just had a
really
thought.
he really kept asking God. He's like, okay, well, if we do this whole Isaac thing, what birthright does Ishmael have? Is he going to be okay? And he's like, yeah,
Right.
he's going to be okay. I'm gonna make him the father of a great nation as well. He's gonna be fine.
Right.
Wait, I just
Like,
had a new
okay,
thought
dude.
that I never thought of before. So Abraham is Isaac's father and his uncle?
No.
Yeah.
No, he's the uncle to Lot.
No. Sarah is his sister.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right.
Yeah.
I'm my own grandpa. Yeah. Good point.
Family trees, how they work.
I swear to God, that never crossed my mind until tonight. He's his uncle too.
He's Uncle Pops.
Uncle Abraham had many sons.
Doesn't
Lord.
Better Lately have a character named
Oh
Uncle
my God,
Pops?
that is horrible. Oh, that's why I tell people just read the Bible. You will get a lot of interesting things out of it. Wow. But you gotta have. It helps to have conversations like what we have, right? We're just bouncing
Sure.
ideas off of each other.
Right.
Some of these thoughts I probably would have never had by myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh man, Uncle Abraham.
Many sons had Uncle Abraham.
Many
Oh,
nephews had
shit.
Oh Lord,
All
the
right.
scandal.
It is
That sounds like
scandalous.
some Jerry Springer shit, don't it?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be funny. They have a DNA test, so you can use. Yeah, you wanted to know about whether the looking glass could see back to Abraham's time. They do.
Uh,
They do. They do a Maury Povich. They do a Maury Povich. Everyone's reclining on their pillows, and they're like, "And Abraham is not the father," and he's jumping up and down. He's jumping up and down. Yeah.
oh
He's
man.
just shining. He's just shining on his ex. He's shining on his ex bitch. He's just like, yeah, that's right. He's just like in your face, rolling on the floor, laughing. Okay, that's funny. That seems important. Well, that seems like a very good use of the looking glass technology.
Oh man. Hey, I'm sorry that that thought crossed my mind, people. It don't change the fact that it's true. Mm. I just never thought of it like that until just now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, good catch.
Oh wow. So that just
So
adds
yeah,
to the confusion of he's promised nations because of these kids, right? And he's his uncle too.
Mhm.
Like, do you see why this is a troubling part of the Bible for me? You know, like it's confusing moralistically, right?
I think we're going to keep finding that over and over again. Eventually, we'll get to David and Bathsheba.
Oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wait till we get to Esther.
What in 2031?
Yeah. No, you guys got me going faster. I'll do as much as I can this week.
Okay. Yeah, you really put the pedal to the metal tonight.
He said 2031. It took me a second to get what you meant by that because we're like almost a year in, people, and we're still in Genesis.
Yep.
Mm. Now, I told G. Ross when he first brought this up, I was like, dude, that's going to take us at least 10 years, you know?
Mm-hmm. But you never know what life can bring you, you know? Like, if the economy gets crazy enough and I'm suddenly unemployed, man, I could really dig through this stuff fast.
Yeah, but something tells me you're gonna want to skip the entire book of Leviticus.
No.
No,
Let me tell you the
no.
joke about Leviticus. And
You did. That's what I was thinking of when your pastor was like, "You want to
Yeah.
you want to complain once more?"
Yeah.
Leviticus, I don't want to skip Leviticus because there's a
We
lot of
won't.
important things in Leviticus.
No.
It Leviticus and Deuteronomy can be really dry, people.
I don't know
But
if you
there's
guys
a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting nuggets there
No.
that apply to, I think that apply to today,
Yeah.
especially with food quality and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So that in
Well,
itself, especially with the mRNA that they want to put in livestock, I
good
don't want to
point.
skip Leviticus and Deuteronomy at all.
So, we'll do Leviticus proper. You might remember when we were in a series of begats, and I almost turned it into a little spreadsheet and kind of jammed through it pretty quick. So, if I see any opportunities in Leviticus to not do the text short service, but still to economize, I will for sure.
I don't mind that. There's just specifically, there's certain things that I want to go over.
Yeah.
With Leviticus and Deuteronomy, because it is really dry, people. For those of you that haven't gone through it, whoa,
Yeah.
right?
It gets pretty dry.
Because I mean, you start to think to yourself after a while, like, how many rules are there?
613.
Is that what it comes out to?
Yeah, there's a few people that'll say 612 and a couple other counts, but it's pretty much 613.
Oh man.
But then that turns into the Talmud, which is volumes upon volumes upon volumes. Trying to interpret it.
I've never read it, so
I don't consider the Talmud to be inspired myself, but maybe that's because just I don't want to read it.
Oh, Thaggy, since you're here, let me ask you. Do you know how Mary Magdalene died?
Oh, I found that while you were getting a soda.
I don't, but before D. Ross tells us, there's one version where she where Jesus doesn't die. The two of them steal away to southern France.
I've heard
There's
about
a
that.
whole folklore. Yeah, there's a whole folklore about starting the Merovingian line. But yeah, what's the official story there, D. Ross?
When I was scanning through Wikipedia, the one that seemed the Golden Legend, I think it was called, it said she lived they got shipwrecked, stuck on an island, and then she lived like in a cave for like 30 years. And then some pope or priest came and gave her the Eucharist, and she smiled and died.
That is sus. That is sus.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought you were going to bring up what Thaggy was just talking about. How do you pronounce it again, Thaggy? Merovingi or something?
M-E-R-O, Merovingian.
Yeah. Kind of like, what was that book called?
The Da Vinci Code.
Holy Blood, Holy Grail?
Yeah, the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
So we kind of go anti-Da Vinci Code if we're being the duppy aficionados. Or do we?
I thought it was a great book.
No, it is. But nothing wrong with the book.
Even the movie was pretty on point and entertaining.
Angels and Demons was an even more fun movie.
Yeah. Kind of creepy how they brought CERN into it.
I know.
Right? And this is before I knew anything about the Mandela effect. Any of that, you know?
Yep.
I didn't know about, opening portals to hell and shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bringing in demons. Even without all of that knowledge, it was pretty damn entertaining.
I think I kind of liked the second book and the second movie better.
I thought they were pretty decent, both of them, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
Like, let me think. I think I saw the movie first. Honestly, I don't remember now. I don't remember if I read the book first or saw the movie first. But a lot of movies don't do books justice. I thought that movie pretty much disclosed a lot of what the book talked about. And a lot of movies don't do it like that, you know? There was a
I have to agree.
I can't remember the name of the book or the movie. I know John Travolta was in it, and that black guy with the lazy eye.
Right?
It was a sci-fi movie and book, but the book was like 3 inches thick. People,
You're talking about the L. Ron
Oh,
Hubbard stuff.
you. Oh,
Battlefield Earth.
yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
what's his name? Lawrence? No, not Lawrence. Forrest Whitaker.
Yes, yes,
The the lazy. It's the black guy with the lazy eye. Oh yeah. You mean Forrest Whitaker? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Right? There's only one.
I remember watching my father read that book. I mean, day after day. It took him a long time to finish that book. I mean, that book probably weighed like 5 pounds, people. You know what I mean? This was a thick
Mm-hmm.
book. And then the movie comes out, and he was pissed on how badly they represented that book. He would not shut up about that. I remember that specifically. And I remember being a kid, I was about 11 or so, and he wanted me to
Well,
read
that's
the
that's
Lord of the Flies.
that's how it goes though in Hollywood. Everything changes on the editing floor. The actors have no idea what movie they're making. That's why they're always interested in watching the debut. They're like,
So
okay, what the hell did you guys make? They have
so
no
he
idea what the movie is.
he had me read Lord of the Flies when I was like 11, and then I read Animal Farm after that, and I liked both of them. So when it came out with the Lord of the Flies movie, I couldn't wait to see it. And they did such a horrible job with that movie. Oh my god! And then like my uncle, like when I first came to Phoenix as a kid, my uncle had a bookshelf just filled with sci-fi books. Well, the bottom two shelves were like real estate and finance books, but all the other ones were like just all sci-fi. And one of the first sci-fi books I read, my uncle was like, "Hey, read this one. I think you will like it." And it was Ender's Game.
Oh.
So a few years back, they come out with the Ender's Game movie, and from previous experience, I'm like, man, they probably just didn't do this justice at all. Now, for people that didn't realize it was a movie, they probably liked it, but they left a lot out of the book when it comes to that movie. Just a lot. So, have
Everett
you guys?
Home. Everett
Have
Home
you guys?
mentions. Yeah, go ahead.
No, no, real quick. There's a show called The Chosen, and from the little clips that I have seen of it, I thought that they were telling the stories pretty well in reference to the Bible. Have you guys seen any of that?
I haven't watched it yet.
I've seen some clips, some
Yeah.
segments. I know people are really into it. I couldn't get into it.
No.
I almost like Game of Thrones. There's Christians who have like shows and watch parties.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, compared to other depictions of the Bible, how would you rate it?
Uh, I'm not gonna rate it. I'm not gonna rate it. I haven't seen enough.
That's
Uh,
fair. That's fair.
I would say that the earlier topic, the Dan Brown stuff, it's it's a thriller for sure. I like thrillers. The thing is that it's hard to tell whether they're seeding like predictive programming. Are they seeding the ideas, or is it the complete opposite? Are they showing you how carried away you can get with conspiracy theories when it's patching a quilt of different clues and newly unearthed scriptures and stuff buried by the Vatican, and you start patching together this quilt of like Renaissance art and different chapels and statues and inscriptions, and you blow the dust off of something. You're like, wait, there's more here. Was it a social commentary on conspiracy theories, or was it the seeding of hidden knowledge?
You know,
That's a hard one to answer, Duffy or Daggy. I keep calling you Duffy because we've been messing with each other about flat Earth back and forth lately,
Oh, okay.
and I apologize.
I feel like Dan Brown helped me to realize all the conspiracies are true because he put them all together.
Dude, he even put a Mandela effect about the chalice not being in that painting.
Nice.
The Last Supper. They went out of their way to point that shit out. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, good point.
I remember there being a chalice in front of
Yeah.
Jesus.
I see G Ross is kind of like wiping up the bar. We're the last ones
I'm doing
here.
the lights on thing.
He's flickering the lights. He killed the music. Yeah. We're supposed to take the hint here, but closing thoughts. I saw that we arrived at a consensus, at least in the chat. The consensus was most of us think that there is a lot of meaning in dreams.
Oh, I believe that. Definitely.
Dreams, they tend to be meaningful to the dreamer.
Dreams is a subconscious way to deliver a message to the conscious mind.
I agree.
It
I've
doesn't
read
hurt.
some.
It doesn't hurt to go online, people, and look up, the different bits and pieces that you remember from a dream. Like if there was a type of animal or a bug or just whatever, look it up. Because I've looked up many things from different dreams that I've had over the years, and I kid you not, regardless of as to what the dream was, every time I looked it up, it would hit on something that was relevant to my life at the time. That's the only way I can describe it, you know? So dreams are
Reason.
significant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, so like when I have a dream, my reaction, like I'll be in different scenarios or situations. How I respond or react to something is a reflection of my moral character. Because, like, when I think about it, everything that I do in a dream is just like my raw reaction
That's a good
of the
point.
essence of who I am. You know what I mean?
That's a really good point.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because there's been a lot of times, people, where I'll wake up from a dream and I'll be like, what the hell was that?
Right.
And my first instinctive thought is, I feel like I was being tested, like morally.
Interesting.
Has that ever happened to either one of you? Because that happens to me a lot.
I get the impression that the dream can sometimes be preparing me for something I think that might be coming up. So in that sense, it's very similar to what you're saying. I haven't characterized it as like a test, but it is revealing, which is a test. So good point.
For the most part, I can say that how I react to things in a dream is pretty much how I'd react in real life. And so I've never done anything in a dream that I wake up and I feel guilty. Like, if anything, I feel like I have more morality in my dreams than I do in my regular life. And I'm a pretty moral and respectful person, you know, especially compared to the rest of the world. There is so much ugly that you read about or hear about in this world. And I'm just like, wow, Like sometimes it surprises me and sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many times where I'm just like, I'll be reading about something and I'll just have to stop because it's too dark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll light a cigarette and just be like, how? How are people capable of being like this? Like,
Right.
I mean, it just makes you think that people are just out there kicking babies and puppies and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
God,
They, right. Those stories do happen, but they also get magnified by the news outlets.
yeah, some of them.
At least I suspect that. A while earlier, Everett Holmes said Piggy agrees, and I'm not sure who Piggy is.
Piggy is a character in Lord of the Flies.
Oh, right. Yes, I remember Piggy.
He's the one that got hit in the head with a rock and fell off the cliff.
Yep. Yeah. Now,
I
thanks.
don't know if he
Yes.
was talking about that.
No, it
That's
must have been. Must have been. Probably when you said the movie was bad, Piggy was like, agreeing with that. The movie I saw, and I saw it a long time ago, like 35 years ago. The version I saw seemed okay, but I could be remembering it like 35 years later.
More than one version?
I don't know. Maybe not. William
Did you ever read
Golding.
the book?
Yeah, I read the book. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, they got very tribal real quick.
Well, they were young, right? They weren't
I mean,
done
but they
growing.
were, if I remember right, they were raised with class.
Yeah, they were from a private school, I think.
But got tribal real quick. You know?
Yeah, it seemed pretty plausible to me.
Now apply that to today's world. You know, people are worried about the direction of our money. They're worried about food shortages.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes down to it, I will go Mad Max on some shit to protect mine. You know what I mean?
I think that's coming.
I hope not.
I hope not. I think we're going to be, yeah.
I think our best case scenario is they're going to force us into a new dollar that's going to be gold back, GDP back, right? Because a lot of other countries are already doing it. Our dollar doesn't have a choice,
I'm glad
and the
I
rest of the
bought some
world is turning.
silver.
The rest of the world is turning their back not only on the dollar, but the military bases and our country as a whole. They're tired
Good.
of our country butting in the shit that doesn't, pertain to them. And countries are just flat out telling our government, get out. Who in the hell are you to tell us what to do and what to sanction? And,
I agree with Joe World Citizen, who says, get out of our business.
I'm trying to think of, there was a country in particular that was talking to China. And our federal government got upset about it and was trying to dictate to them how they should do shit and, not have those kind of relations with China. And I'm trying to think, I want to say it was Saudi Arabia.
Sounds right.
But there's an African country that was doing the same thing too, though.
Yeah, I forget which one.
It might have been South Africa or
yeah. I think
but
you're right.
there's quite a few African countries that are acting like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Because China is offering help with infrastructure with no strings attached versus like how the IMF does things.
There is going to be strings. I don't buy that. I mean, I'm sure you're right that it's better than the IMF deal or different. But they
as far as I know,
lunch.
the latest deals that they've been doing with Africa, as far as China, I think they're trying to butter them up for something later. But as far as how I understand it now, no strings.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know,
Hey, that's how the
but
federal programs always start.
China likes to play the long game, though. People,
Yes.
they look at it like it might not happen in our lifetime, but this is our direction. They play the long, long game. You know,
That's what we're told, and I think it's true. Thaggy had his last words. I'm going to pass out. Those are going to be my last words.
I don't really have anything for last words. I mean, we talked about Sarah getting pregnant and a curse being lifted from this king and his servants, and so it sounds like everybody got knocked up.
Yep. Made me wonder if there was a fertility rite that happened.
A fertility what?
Like a fertility orgy or something.
Oh, who knows? But with that said, I will talk to y'all next week. It's been interesting. It's been fun.
Right on.
I don't know who's all in the chat, but I'm glad you guys have been here and hanging out with us.
There's a good crew out there.
Until next time, people, the Black Yoda out.
Adios. Hasta la
All
pasta.
right, team. All right, I will catch you on the flip, and that'll be Wednesday. I'm so suddenly sleepy. I don't understand. All right, let's get our outro music going. People. All right, what an epic panel. Kind of short on text today, but long on comments and side stories. Awesome. Thanks to Black Yoda for keeping it 100. And Pete Thaggy for swinging by. Keeping us straight on who's pimping who. I think that's a totally good sort of, keeping straight to the text. Love it. Thanks again, Black Yoda. That was awesome. In 2 days, really a day and a half, Friday, 5:30 p.m. Texas time, Bread Pill Weekly with Angular and G. Ross. Sunday at 9 p.m. Texas time, you'll see with executive producer Rev and in collaboration with Sloan TV Productions, Stella Sue Sloan Productions, you'll see Armor Up Volume 2 or Episode 2. And then back here for Chapter 21, Wednesday, same time, same channel. I'm going to head over for a minute and say hi to Uncle Krusty and probably swing by the Sloan TV chat. I'll see you all there. Oh, let me release the scratching. I knew I was forgetting something. The scratching have been released. Scratch! Scratch the scratching! Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Alright, I'm scratching. Well, I thought I released it. Come on, scratching. There we go. It can be done. There we go. Ever at home got one. All right, I'm starting the real outro. Love you all. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly, You've been red-pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, D-Live, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the Foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the Foxhole.app, D-Live, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.